Bienvenue tout le monde aux séances ordinaires du Conseil municipal de la Ville de Westmount pour lundi le 8 avril 2024. Welcome everybody to the regular Municipal Council meeting of the City of Westmount for Monday, April 8th, 2024. First, I'd like to start by thanking un gros remerciement aux bibliothèques and community events today. For those of you, I see some of you that were there today at the Eclipse event in Westmount Park. I know many were in KGP or at the Summit. I just want to thank the team at Library and Community Events that put on a fantastic, I wasn't able to attend it, but from what I understand, a fantastic information session with some physics students from Concordia prior to the Eclipse. But it was so great to see so many people in our community out on this very just historic day, and it was really incredible. So I just want to say a huge thank you to them, and thank you all for coming tonight. I haven't seen this many people in the room since we talked about the WRC, I don't think, or perhaps the last time we discussed dogs. So thank you all for coming. And for those of you who have not, a few of you are regulars here, so you know the rules. It's my job to keep order of the meeting and keep it functioning as well as it can. So the way this works in Westmount is that we have two question periods. So we have one at the beginning of the meeting, then we go through, and that question period should not last more than an hour. And then we go through the many, many items that we have on our agenda tonight, because we have we're heading into our busiest season of being a city, of operating as a city. And then we have a second question period at the end of that, that happens at the end. We also have questions that have been submitted online, and I believe we have 18 questions submitted online. Just to put this into perspective, we normally have about 2. And we normally have about 4 people here with us. So and when you ask a question, you have to state your name. You do not have to state your address. We typically in the past have said to state your address. Your street. We do not allow, the press does not get to ask questions before residents, and we give precedence to Westmount residents. So we are going to begin with questions in the room, but I just want everybody to understand what is on the agenda tonight. We are giving notice of motion tonight, which does not mean the adoption of the bylaw. I think there are some copies in the back. I don't know if they made enough copies, but there are some copies in the back. We are giving notice of motion tonight to move forward with naming to ensure that we are we are constantly updating bylaws. That's what we do. And this bylaw, this notice of motion, this bylaw, if and when adopted, which would be minimum a month from now, will state the dog exercise areas throughout the city. One of them is the WAG, one is Westmount Park Dog Run, one is KGP, and one is Summit Woods. That is listed in the annex that is attached to the notice of motion, which will all be online as well, so if you don't have a copy of it. I know that this is a heated issue. This is an issue that was raised with some residents at last council meeting. This is not unanimously supported, but it is a majority support of council. So we have worked continuously to try and find a balance at the Summit. It is an incredibly important part of our community. And we've worked closely over the years, and this is, I didn't create this system. This is decades-long tradition in Westmount, and it has had adjustments. It's moved from limiting hours throughout the year, so as of next week, there'll be no dogs off leash at any time till the end of June, and then there will be limited hours, and then come the winter months, it will open up again. And we have made changes throughout the time when they closed the road, when Mayor Trent and Councillor Lulham worked very hard on that to close the road at Summit Circle. I mean, one way to do it was just leave it neglected with a chain link fence across it for a long time. But to get to that point, then they invested heavily in the walking path. That is not an off-leash area. And so that decision was very deliberately made, and that was very much accepted amongst the dog walking community. What we can do and what we must do is improve our enforcement. You must have a Westmount dog license to be in any of these dog runs or to walk at Summit Woods, and the fines are increasing and they are going to sting. So you will see public security up there, and that is the very best way that we can control what goes on at Summit Woods, because it ensures that you have dogs that are vaccinated, it ensures that we know who they are, and it is also a way for us to manage the dangerous dogs. We have 6 dangerous dogs listed in Westmount. We know where they are, we know what the rules are with them, and there is a way to manage that. So there are 6 of them in Westmount, who are obviously not allowed off-leash in any of these facilities. So that is what we are doing tonight. So we are not voting. When we give notice of motion, you do not vote on it. It is intent, and we will vote on that at a coming council meeting. So that's a little bit of what's going to happen. And I understand that this is a very, very heated issue. I won't tolerate any screaming or name calling. It is my job to keep this meeting somewhat civil. And I know it's I know it's a hard issue when you live next to a park, when you live next to a school, when you live next to a grocery store. That comes with a set of problems that aren't always easily legislated in terms of how you manage them. So I think we look to the community that has fought hard and has clearly made a very a clear plea to continue this privilege of being at Summit Woods, to obey the rules. And I'm up there all the time. I full disclosure, I do use Summit Woods. I follow the rules. I like many council members and council members before me, we've been able to walk dogs off leash up there. But the rules need to be followed, and we are going to take resources that could be allocated elsewhere, and those will be allocated to Summit Woods to make sure that those rules are followed. So if you don't have a dog license, you are not going to be able to walk your dog off leash at Summit Woods or at any of our dog runs. And our parks and our green spaces are for everybody. It is not, you can feel an incredible attachment to it if you live next to it, and I fully understand that, but they belong to the entire community. So on that note, we did respond. There was a demand letter that was submitted to the city in this forum in public last month. I don't know if we have responded to it, and we do not agree with it, so I won't read it into record, but if needed, I will. So that's just my commentary on that. Does anyone else have any other? There's a lot to update on. So I'm going to go through, the councillors normally do an update, so we'll start with Councillor Kez, who I think has some updates of what's going on in her district.
Yeah, well, regarding the dogs, public safety information table will be in Summit Woods. Westmount Public Security Officers will be in Summit Woods on April 12, 13, and 14 to provide information about regulations.
Your mic a little closer.
About regulations and help individuals on how to obtain a valid dog license. We have to follow these rules, and we're there to help, and let's all enjoy the woods. And I have another topic of discussion more relating to District 8 and 7, and that is due to the temporary closure of Lucien Lallier Station for repair work over the next 6 months, the trains have to park between Atwater and Hallowell while waiting for the return to Vendôme Station, and it will have possible impact on our community in terms of both noise and air pollution. For this reason, the city has been in touch with both the CP and EXO to insist that they find a better solution than the one they have put forward and try to place the trains as far as possible from homes while the needed work is being done, so as to have as little impact as possible to our residents. So we are working on this, no promises made, but this is a very big issue in District 7 and 8, so I hope it can be resolved. That's it.
Thank you, Councillor Kez, thank you for all your hard work on that. I know you have been very committed to finding a solution for this, as well as with my support and with the administration support, so thank you. Councillor Aronson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The report I'm bringing tonight is largely to do with the environmental portfolio. It's April, and as you all know, this is the month in which Earth Day will take place, and so we've got a lot of activity around the environment in our city. For those of you who want to take out your calendar and mark these things down, I'm going to go in order of dates. So today, the 8th of April, is the first day that we've got our new environmental inspector on duty. This person is here to help educate residents as to what things are permitted and not permitted in their waste management. So if you have questions or concerns about what it is you're allowed to do or not do, there's multiple resources available to you. The environmental inspector will assist in this regard, but you will also be receiving our newsletter in your mailbox, so you don't have to go online and print anything out. This is there's a pull-out section here with a collection calendar that we will be adopting over the next year of when you can put out different kinds of waste. So it's listed graphically, so you know when to put out compost or food waste, when to put out recycling, and of course, when to put out things that you want to go to the landfills. And on the other side of it, a very handy chart to help you figure out exactly what goes where so that you make sure to keep your garbage and recycling and compost sorted and all of it goes to the right place. So when you do see this in your mailbox, please take a moment to pull that out, stick it on your fridge or somewhere else in your home. It'll be a handy guide going forward. And then, of course, once you've read everything else in here, please do make sure to recycle it. Going forward after that, on Monday the 15th, we have the start of garden waste collection and the Belvedere Depot opening. So where garden waste, of course, is stuff that we can compost, but not through our food compost system. The rules are available on our website, and if you could have either you as a gardener or anyone working for you as a gardener, make sure to properly bag that waste for collection. That would be much appreciated. On the 18th, we've got a big park cleanup with some students in Westmount of King George Park. And then if anyone here or anyone listening would like to volunteer to help clean up Westmount Park, we're doing the same activity on Friday the 19th of April in Westmount Park. As you can imagine, the parks get very dirty over the winter, and there's lots of trash around that if everybody helps and picks up one or two pieces, it makes the job a lot easier on our hardworking public works staff. On Saturday the 20th, which is Earth Day, we've got a whole bunch of activities, one of which is hazardous waste collection. So if you've been holding on to hazardous waste that you cannot throw out, please bring it down to the library parking lot where it can properly be disposed of. At the same time, we're going to have the presence of an organization called Entre Mille that is focused on a clothing swap that we did last year to great success. More information about this, of course, is available online. From 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m., there's going to be a lecture on the fashion industry, its impacts and alternatives, things that we can all do to lighten the load on the environment when it comes to choosing to spend our money on what we wear. And then there'll be an informative and interactive kiosk through the afternoon. And then finally, at Victoria Hall, our environmental division is going to be there as part of an informative and educational kiosk for anybody who's got questions and would like to talk to our staff about waste management and the upcoming changes to the way we do collection. And finally, on the 24th of April, there's going to be a public consultation on the proposed heat island bylaw. This is a bylaw we're introducing to help reduce the amount of heat islands in Westmount, and of course that's going to have an impact on our city activities and resident activities. And then finally, as of May, bulky item pickup, when you've got big, large items that can't go into the trash, is going to be available by reservation. If you have something big that needs to be removed on the first Tuesday of a month, you can go onto our citizen portal, register with Public Works, and they will come and pick up your discarded furniture, mattresses, things that just don't go into the normal waste system. But make sure, please, to go on and let them know you need it picked up. If you just put it out in front of your house, it'll still be there come nightfall. You've got to let us know. So it's by reservation only. And that is everything I've got in my update.
Thank you, Councillor Aronson.
You are most welcome.
Councillor Gallery.
Thank you, Madame Mayor. Bonsoir et bienvenue tout le monde. It's nice to see so many of you here tonight. I too have a few updates. I'm going to start with online registration for summer activities and our summer camp. So those are both very, very popular. That will be on Tuesday, April 16th, and the week afterward, on April 23rd, we will have online registration for swimming and tennis activities. We separate the two because they are both in so much demand, and we want to give everybody a fair chance. I know everyone wants to know when the soccer program starts, so it will hopefully start, weather depending, on April 27th. And hard tennis courts are scheduled to open on April 19th as well. Afterward, the clay courts, April 27, again, weather depending. So we also ask residents to stay off the soccer pitches until the end of April so that they have time to dry and level properly. Going on the fields, as you know, will deteriorate the grass prematurely and create an uneven playing field. So I also want to talk about the special tree distribution. We offer that to our residents. There's 1 tree per person, quantity permitting, and you would go on our website and sign up for that, and the trees will be distributed in May. And lastly, I just want to let you know regarding the Summit Woods, we are working on a Summit Wood action plan that many of you are aware of, but I'll be able to talk more about that at our next council meeting, but we really are working hard to preserve and protect the green space up there. So, thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Bostock, any updates?
Just a very quick update. It's hard to imagine that after today, when everybody was sitting on the grass at the library and at King George Park, that we had 25 centimeters of snow fall last week, Wednesday. So I just wanted to say thank you to our Public Works teams for getting our sidewalks and our roads cleared. And I know that I had a couple of tree incidents in my backyard, and I know that we have some tree debris in the backyard that everybody is looking to get rid of. If you cut your pieces small and you can bring them up to the Belvedere Depot, it will be open. You can take a look at the website for dates and times that it is open. And our Public Works team, now that it is done, hopefully with snow removal, will be filling potholes and repairing roads and sidewalks as the weather permits. So rest assured that work is getting done. If you do see a pothole, there is an opportunity to report one on the city website. It is helpful for us. It is not town crier by doing so. It is very helpful. So lots to come in the next few months.
Thank you. Councillor Peart.
Merci, Madame la Mairesse. It's great to see a whole bunch of new faces. You can come back and visit anytime. I'll give you a quick update on a couple of infrastructure projects. In the last 2 weeks, we had 2 information sessions for the upcoming project on Forden. I attended one, Councillor Roux attended both of them, and we had quite a good turnout because, as I've said before, we do things a little bit differently now. We don't just rebuild exactly as it was without thinking about it. So every time a new project comes up, we ask the community, we communicate with the community, we get some feedback, and we also look to integrate and implement best practices for road reconstruction, because we know that these decisions that we're making them for the next 20, 30, 40, sometimes 50 years that we're replacing these roads. So we had a really good public consultation with the residents of Forden and Forden Circle. And it was quite a long workshop, a 2-3 hour workshop. It was animated by some outside consultants who are experts in communication and soliciting engagement. And before the city has drawn a single line, we are collating all this feedback from the citizens, and we'll be working towards a new solution for these streets. And again, later on in the process, as the plans are more developed and the options are diminished, we will go back again to the community and present them, and we'll get some more feedback, and then we'll go back again and do the final sets of plans. I mention all of this because right now we're going to, in the summer coming up, we're going to see the fruits of the same exercise that we did last year for Upper Lansdowne. So later on today, I'll be announcing the award of a tender for 3 segments on Upper Lansdowne, beginning at Edge Hill, working its way up to Lansdowne Ridge, a full reconstruction. So when I say reconstruction, it is the road being taken down completely, asphalt, concrete base, sidewalks coming out, any underground works which may or may no, the rehabilitation has already taken place. So it includes hydro works, it includes the water services. It's very, very large and intensive and messy and a large project. But last year we went through the exercise. The residents of the sector had a lot of back and forth with us. Many options were considered, and many options were discussed and worked through, and we came out with a solution. That's the solution that's being executed later on this summer, and I'm happy to announce that it came in almost to the penny on what we had planned to spend. So it's excellent. So for these, we won't do this every single infrastructure project, but for the ones which that offer opportunities for some improvement, we're gonna take this kind of a strategy. The next one on the boards later on this year is on Claremont. Talking about Upper Claremont between Sherbrooke all the way up to where it meets Westmount and Marianopolis, and the little triangle there as well. So there will be a public consultation process for that as well. So it's a new way of working, and we're seeing the fruits of that labor and that exercise right now.
Yeah, so with the awarding of that contract, I think it's always, we should never miss an opportunity to stress to people to change your lead intake. So we're going through the process of spending millions and millions of dollars to rebuild this road and to upgrade all your infrastructure. It is an opportune time, if that stretch between the public domain and your house is still a lead intake, that is the time to make that upgrade.
And if you happen, if you happen to be on the blocks concerned, the city does an excellent job of communicating with the residents early in the process. You're going to find out scheduling, parking restrictions, timelines. You're going to have a point person at the city with whom you're going to be able to liaise with.
Just not me.
Just not my cell number either. Somebody will be able to liaise with directly, and we'll be able to give you information as you need it. And of course, we are always maintaining project like mini sites on our Engage Westmount site where the residents can follow along as well.
But you will have a point person from the city on site, and I'm just teasing, you can reach out to me if you have an issue with the road, but that you will have a point person from the engineering team on site who will manage the day-to-day. Conseiller Chamy, and we'll see you at the Claremont public consultation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As Commissioner of Hydro Westmount, just a shout out to my fellow Commissioner of Sustainability. With Earth Day and April being and such an important month, we need to shout out to ourselves, our children, grandchildren, to conserve energy, to teach about using energy efficiently, using electricity efficiently. It's now the time as we plan our coming out of the winter. It's a good heads up for all of us. And with this incredible attendance, Madam Mayor, I thought I would shout out to sensible conservation and education. So looking forward to working all well together. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Roux always has the good updates.
Yeah, but I'll try to keep it short tonight. Alors, bonsoir. Et la mairesse
Not
en a...
that the other updates aren't good, but Councillor Roux are fine.
C'est ça. Alors, la mairesse en a parlé, mais je veux remercier parce que je suis commissaire de la bibliothèque et des événements. C'était extraordinaire cet après-midi avec le club d'astronomie de Concordia de voir et les enfants et les adultes tellement attentifs, tellement impressionnés par ce qu'ils apprenaient. Tout le monde était passionné. Alors, c'était vraiment une belle activité. Je n'étais pas dans ce parc-là après. J'étais dans Murray Park, King George, and the park was filled, and it was great to see everybody. So I recognize some faces from both places, so thank you for coming. Also, so I'd like to remind you, it's the book sale this weekend, so at Victoria Hall on Saturday and Sunday. That's always very popular. The call for, on Saturday is Westmount Lit, so meet 4 acclaimed authors from our community for literary soirée of reading and discussion, so featuring authors Michelle Franklin, Rich Larson, Suji Sokol, and Philip Young. So that's Saturday night at 7 p.m. in the Westmount Room because the Victoria Hall is busy with the book sale. Call for proposal for Westmount artists at Victoria Hall closes on April 15th, so if any of you are interested. And there is a new exhibit in the gallery that started last weekend, so I invite you to go see that. It's very different from what we usually see. Then the clothing swap, Councillor Aronson mentioned it, but just to tell you, if you're like me, it's a great opportunity to clean your closets. And the drop-off is on April 18th and 19th only. What else do I have? Ballroom Blitz at Victoria Hall on Saturday, May 4th, and I will leave it at that for this evening, as there's many questions obviously to come, but please go online and you'll see all the other activities.
Merci beaucoup. Councillor D'Amico?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have received several emails. I'd like to take the opportunity to respond to the emails at the same time. As you know, Summit Woods is in my district. We have a provincial law. The provincial law is the law, it's entitled the Act to Promote the Protection of Persons by establishing a framework with regard to dogs. Now, in every family, there are disagreements. We have a disagreement in this family, and that is regarding the definition of what is a dog run. And by second, is Summit Woods a dog run? I cannot give you a legal opinion. Only a jurist, which is a lawyer or a notary, can give you a legal opinion, but I have consulted lawyers on this issue. And the crux of the matter is the definition of a dog run. So what I'm recommending to solve this issue is to refer this matter to the provincial government, which is under their jurisdiction, to define clearly what is a dog run and whether, by extrapolation, Summit Woods is a dog run. I think that will solve this issue, and that will create clarity on this issue, and I think it will solve most of the problem. The other issue also, I'm very interested in the preservation of the summit, so we have to also think about preservation, sustainability, and biodiversity of the summit. Those are my comments on that issue. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And just on that, as Councillor D'Amico said, in families there are disagreements. There is a disagreement on this one. The provincial government gives us the responsibility to make those decisions. We've been elected by the people, by the citizens, to make these decisions, and it is up to the municipality to put that into place. So that is what we are doing tonight with the tabling and with the notice of motion. So now we will begin. Oh, just quickly, one issue that Councillor Gallery forgot to mention is next week, next Wednesday, is our semi-annual sports banquet where Victoria Hall is packed with all of our athletes from our winter sports. And I believe our M13 girls made it all the way to the finals. They didn't win in the finals, but they made it all the way. And we have more girls hockey teams this year than we ever had. And I think that is a great testament to the work that the Sports and Rec team is doing, but also the community that are engaging in this and want these teams and are totally inspired by the women basketball players that are breaking records with. So I'm proud of those girls and their hockey team. So council will be serving them pizza next Wednesday night. So, on va commencer avec la première période de questions. On va laisser les questions en ligne pour après les questions dans la salle. Please state your name and your question.
My name is Mariam Kamali Nejad, and I have 2 questions, if you permit it. Yes. The first question is, you said that je vais parler en français. La loi provinciale vous permet d'avoir des réglementations qui sont différentes par rapport à la loi.
Non, c'est pas différent à la loi. C'est pas différent à la loi.
C'est une lecture différente. La loi provinciale, il met le cadre et chaque ville, il faut qu'il respecte la loi provinciale et dans le cadre de loi provinciale, il peut mettre des réglementations. Les réglementations de législative, il peut être plus sévère que la loi, mais il ne peut pas être plus léger que la loi. Ça, c'est la lecture de plusieurs avocats que nous avons consultés. Et un exemple de ça, c'est que si Westmount, ils vont demander une dérogation de ne pas mettre les ceintures dans l'auto, parce que les enfants de Westmount, ils n'aiment pas ça. Est-ce que vous acceptez, comme législateur, si vous...
C'est pas la même chose, mais...
C'est une loi provinciale que tous les enfants, à certain âge et certain poids, dans l'auto, il faut qu'ils portent la ceinture.
Et
Donc,
votre
est-ce que nous,
question, madame?
Ma question, c'était ça. Est-ce que si vous êtes la personne qui met la loi, est-ce que vous permettez que je vous demande, mon fils, il n'aime pas porter la ceinture, est-ce que vous permettez qu'à Westmount, mon fils ne porte pas?
Non, votre fils faut porter la ceinture. Merci pour la question.
Il doit porter la ceinture. Oui. Et vous ne pouvez pas mettre un règlement pour ne pas porter la ceinture.
C'est pas la même chose.
La même chose. La loi
provinciale
clairement dit que les chiens doivent être en leash dans l'espace public. Donc,
non, et dans les espaces qui sont désignés, les espaces
Parfait.
air exercice pour les chiens.
Parfait. Deuxième question.
C'est exactement ce qu'on fait à Westmount.
Deuxième question.
Okay.
Vous voulez changer la nomination de Bois Summit avec Parc à Canaan, Exercice Canaan, etc.
Oui, et on va laisser Summit Woods comme il est maintenant. Puis on va être plus strict avec les règlements.
Dans l'annexe A, vous l'avez nommé dans le tableau comme le Parc à Canaan ou d'Exercice Canaan, tout terrain identifié par des affiches apposées par la ville indiquant qu'il s'agit d'un endroit où il est possible de laisser les chiens en liberté sans laisse et dont la désignation se trouve à l'annexe A. J'aimerais juste vous dire que, selon vous, est-ce que le Bois Summit n'est pas nommé dans le schéma d'agglomération de Montréal, en zone protégée et patrimoniale de Montréal, pour laquelle le changement de zonage et l'utilisation de ça doit être approuvé par Montréal? Parce que dans le schéma d'agglomération, Madame le greffier, elle est là.
C'est pour la question. Je peux laisser le greffier répondre à ça, mais on est toutes...
En fait, il n'y a aucun changement de zonage ici. Ça demeure un parc.
Je m'excuse, c'est complètement changement de zonage parce que cette zone, c'est dans le schéma d'agglomération.
Non, c'est pas. Mais c'est pas un débat à ce moment. On a répondu à votre question.
Parfait.
Puis vous avez reçu une réponse aussi à votre mise en demeure que vous avez envoyée à nous autres. Je peux le lire en public si vous voulez.
Oui, il n'y a aucun problème. Si vous pensez que la réponse est adéquate, vous pouvez le lire. Mais ma troisième question...
Je sais que la réponse est adéquate.
Ma troisième question, c'est par rapport aux responsabilités.
Vous avez le droit à 2 questions, puis on a une salle qui est pleine. Donc, on va commencer avec la personne en arrière de vous. Mais merci beaucoup.
Vous voulez lire la réponse?
On va lire après, parce qu'on a plein de monde ici ce soir.
Good evening, Council. In November, I already advocated on behalf of dogs, so I'm not going to do that again.
Can you name?
Sorry, George Willimanis, Edge Hill Road.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm not going to advocate again for dogs. What I will suggest, though, is for such a clearly contentious issue, why not just put it to a public vote, right? So there you have an idea of how many people are on each side of the aisle, and then you can adjust your bylaws and regulations accordingly, and not unilaterally, but accordingly to represent whatever the majority rules, as opposed to, I'm sorry, but asking the provincial government for their, ruling on something is a bit of a cop-out. It's like saying...
No, we're not asking the provincial government.
But I'm saying to go and ask to say the provincial government to pass, to tell us what they think with regards to whether or not the Summit Woods is or is not a dog park.
So just to be clear, we are not doing that. It's our responsibility as elected officials to deal with this issue locally. We are adhering to the law entirely. That may not be welcome news to some residents of the city, but this is an area, this is a decades-long area that people have walked dogs off leash, and we have made changes throughout the time to try and accommodate everybody. Being the mayor or being on council is trying to make sure that you're listening to all citizens. And I think that
and I agree that you should.
Yeah.
And I don't think that you should be swayed by, whoever is the loudest or whoever is the most vocal at a given moment. And that's why I'm suggesting a poll of some kind citywide, which will give you demonstrably the number of people that are pro and against whatever measures you might adopt.
Okay, so a referendum, you think that we should have a sort of a referendum type vote
I mean,
on
it'll
this.
avoid having congested sort of council meetings where people are just lining up to ask you questions or give them their opinions.
Okay, I take your feedback on this. I don't have an answer for you right
that's
now.
Fine. Sorry, that's one, yeah.
But I hear you on that, and I also hear you that we have been elected to make decisions as well, and we are making this decision moving forward, and we have a majority that support that.
Fair. Second question, completely unrelated.
Okay.
can we have different parking permit requirements for different districts in the same way that we do a variety of bylaws for different districts?
We have that a little bit where we've done it in certain areas. So we have, like around the WRC, where especially when it was being built, they put into a different parking situation there because it was overflow. We didn't build, there's not enough parking spots in the WRC to manage there. We have also done that around the Shar, which had, not only is it a very dense area with schools, but it's also like a significant event on weekends and things like that. So we have an orange sticker that is for that area.
Right.
So we have done it. It's not, and I think it's a great point to raise because I think we should do it more. So like Victoria Village would love to have a sticker like that.
Yes. I'm also asking the other way. So in areas where you don't have as much density in vehicles, you should not be as restrictive. It's a bit asinine where I am to have to demonstrate that I have more than 3 cars to be able to park in my single-lane driveway, where my wife and I have to play musical chairs every night, depending on who is doing what with the family the next day. And there's no one parking on the street. So I'm fully cognizant of the fact that in high-dense areas, yes, you need certain restrictions, and in lower-dense areas, you should have slightly different requirements.
That's a good, that is a good recommendation in terms of also like people who have 2 cars and 1 spot. Like, is the green sticker on the street, but I got home first, so I'm snagging the driveway, right? So it's that marital debate that happens throughout Westmount.
I can't even, like right now where I am, I can't even get a sticker. I've asked, and I can't even get one, because I have to demonstrate I have 3 vehicles to get one.
Okay. Can you write to me specifically with this request and with a bit more details of what you're asking, and we will have the traffic committee look at this, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Next question, prochaine question.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My name is James Murphy. I live on Melville Avenue. Sorry, it's not a dog question, but I hope that's okay.
Very welcome, all the same.
It's a safe space. It's an issue that's important to me and to my family and my peers. Something we're seeing across North America is communities having shortages of housing, and often zoning and bylaws kind of dragging that out and slowing the process down. So I opened the March 19th Westmount Independent, and there are a couple of stories in there about the former Mountainside Church that's not yet been converted into a residential development. I understand there's still a zoning freeze in the southeast of the city. So I guess I'm kind of interested broadly, like where is Westmount on this issue? And can we talk about kind of anticipated population growth in the future, housing starts, how are those balancing out?
Well, if you wanted a hotter topic than dogs, you have picked it. But so generally, yes, I can see how you would be, if reading some of those headlines would be frustrating if you, especially as a young person who's trying to get into this housing market, which is essentially impossible at this point. But we have come up against, so the southeast sector is frozen as we begin a public consultation process, which should begin by the end of April, where we will have public meetings, and we want to hear from people. That whole area of St. Catherine Street, which is totally underutilized, needs redevelopment, needs some investment. The Tupper parking lots, that whole area over to Green. So from Atwater, it's very clear where it's delineated on our website. And within that, obviously, we're looking at, what is the right housing in there? What is the right densification? And anytime we have, so we're a built city. We don't have a lot of space left. That's kind of the only space that's left in the city. And when we do have projects that come forward, the way democracy works here is you have an incredible amount of power if you already live there. And so you're able to exercise that power through opening a registry and beginning a referendum process. So we have seen projects that get stalled or get spooked or whatever because they want to move a 4-unit building into a 6-unit building, and there's an incredible amount of power in the citizens to be able to stop that process. But I think we need to, as a community, come together and educate that we have buildings that are empty. There was a big debate, and the local newspaper certainly enjoyed continuing that debate about a building that's already built, so that it already exists, but it would require a zoning change, which allows for citizens to petition to open a registry. It hasn't gone anywhere, but the discussion had begun, and that is because it's a long, complicated formula as to why it requires a zoning change, but there is pushback, but there is slight densification that can really make sense for communities, and I think Westmount is one of those. So I think around Atwater, around a transit hub, around schools, around Dawson's, you know, and it's, as we shift, if you look at the Liz, which is outside of our city limits, but that is a very attractive option to a lot of people that have moved in there and then are freeing up their homes that allow for other generations to move in. So I think I think that the Prime Minister right now and the Leader of the Opposition are oversimplifying it. I don't think it's just poof, you build modular housing everywhere. That doesn't solve education, doctors, water, transit, police, fire, everything else that goes with it. But we cannot isolate ourselves from that. So the areas that make sense for densification, I fully support. I think Councillor Peart probably has a lot to say on this.
Yeah, I'll keep it quick. Mountainside, it's zoned single-family residential. That's all that can currently go there is single-family residential. To make a change at that site would require the same process that the mayor is suggesting, where it opens it up, and there'll be, if it were to be multifamily, if it were to be 16 units on the site, 18 units on the site, that discussion takes place in the public forum, and it enables people who already live there to have a very large voice, and the people who could be potential renters or owners aren't in the room. Southeast sector, it's clearly underinvested, but the zoning regulations that are currently on the books right now have proven to be insufficiently attractive for a developer to come in and do work and to propose a project. The projects that have come in, the few projects that have come into the site, have always been asking for more. And so what we took away from that is that our zoning doesn't match the demand. And we don't want to do a piecemeal solution where we look at this building and say, okay, well, you can go up to 13 stories, 15 stories, and the next guy comes in, well, you give him 15, I want 16. So the idea is for the southeast sector is we zoom out, make a bigger plan. We know that there's a demand for housing. It's right beside transit. It is ideal for redevelopment. But right now, our zoning doesn't match the market demand. And so we're making those changes there. And as the mayor said, we don't have a lot of sites in Westmount. There's not a lot of vacant spots. But we want to capitalize on any opportunity that we can. There's a statistic in the census. It's really fascinating. It's called the empty bedrooms. And Westmount has one of the highest rate of empty bedrooms in Canada. That's a resource that's not being optimized. What does that mean? Do we allow for a rental unit in the basement? Do we allow for accessory dwelling units in the back? There are opportunities, but we have to figure that out, and these are incremental steps.
But you should come to the public consultation.
I'll be back in April for the public consultation. I certainly hope there's no referendums on whether to build houses. We don't do referendums on whether we should produce food or clothing. But I'll be back, and I'll be asking you to say yes to more housing.
that law is laid out by the province, for like how that, and
Okay.
we adhere to it very strictly. Councillor D'Amico just wanted to add a few points
Just
quickly.
very quickly, we did one measure very quickly. We decreased the tax rate on the multi-unit homes, so that puts some money directly into the tenant's pocket right away. And the provincial also gave us a new power to tax vacant housing, so council is looking at taxing vacant housing. So those are two measures that one we've done and one we're going to be looking at.
That's great. Keep going, and keep in mind, it's also an opportunity, I think, for existing homeowners. People can kind of put their assets to work. It's not just about kind of supply for the renters, but also, for people who are in the community to stay in the community. So
Perfect.
Keep going. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question.
My name is Robbie Granick. I am the administrator of the Friends of Summit Woods group. Clearly, we weren't allowed to bring our animals, so I am demonstrating to you what stays in my car for the last 5.5 years. I was the one that started Friends of Summit Woods. on a whim because every time I went there was ice and people were falling and the dogs were all over the place. So I decided to start a group one at a time. I am here to advocate for 380 Facebook members of the Woods. I personally go through every single solitary request that I get. I check everybody's profile to see if they even have a dog, to see if they live in this area, and to see if they've ever done anything that I don't feel is responsible to come to the Woods. I am a personal friend of Inspector Gragshaw. He knows me because I'm around walking, telling everybody, do you have your license? These 380 people who are at Summit Woods and these Friends of Summit Woods are responsible pet owners. They're not here wasting their time. They're here exercising their dogs, exercising their minds, and have the best interest of the animals. So if anybody thinks that we are there to cause a ruckus, to make a mess, to allow our dogs to attack other dogs, that is clearly not the case. This is a responsible team of people who try to make our community and to allow our dogs to free. We watch each other, we care for each other, and I can personally tell you, and you can ask him, that I am there posting, please put your license on, there will be a ticket. I have stopped people and I've allowed people to get tickets so they know that they have to be responsible. So I'm representing 380. We started with one. We are 380 people that are responsible, and we thank you very much for looking after the best interests of our animal. It's important to everybody. Thank you very much,
So
Mayor.
thank you for being a voice up there and for helping us. I think that's what it takes, is having great advocates for understanding why certain rules are in place and why they need to be followed. And it's for the safety of everyone. So thank you.
Thank you very much for taking this.
Bonsoir,
Bonsoir.
Madame la mairesse, bonsoir
Bienvenue.
Mesdames les conseillères et Messieurs les conseillers, membres de l'administration et membres du public. Je m'appelle Thomas Rollin et je vis au coin des rues Claremont-Westmount. Donc ce soir, j'aurai en fait une question et un commentaire. Alors le premier commentaire, je vais le faire tout de suite parce que c'est le plus court. C'est pour vous féliciter de mettre en avant la réfection de Claremont Avenue, parce qu'en tant que résident, je peux vous dire qu'on n'en peut plus. Ça ressemble à un safari tous les jours.
Oui.
Donc, ça va vraiment nous faire du bien. Donc, merci pour cette initiative. Ça clôt le premier sujet. Le deuxième sujet, c'est plus une question. En ce moment, mon épouse et moi avons décidé de refaire notre toit, qui est un vieux toit de 20 ans en tar and gravel. Et puis, on a la malchance, je dirais, d'avoir un toit qui est légèrement en pente et à pignon. Donc, ce n'est pas un toit plat. Et donc, nous voilà pris, j'ai envie de dire, dans les 12 travaux d'Astérix, c'est les méandres de l'administration quand vient le temps de regarder aux règles rénovation, etc. Alors, ce qui se passe, c'est que je me suis renseigné auprès d'entrepreneurs, je me suis renseigné auprès de l'administration. Initialement, on voulait retirer ce toit de goudron et de gravier de façon à mettre une membrane en élastomère. Tout simplement parce que le goudron, c'est pas très écologique, donc on voulait bouger ça en élastomère. Malheureusement, fin de non-recevoir, on ne peut pas faire ça puisque notre toit n'est pas plat. Alors, loin de se décourager, mon épouse et moi avons décidé de sortir les grands moyens, le chéquier, et de partir sur un toit métallique. Mais là encore, douche froide, au sens propre comme vous figurez, puisque l'eau coule à travers notre toit. On nous a dit que ça allait prendre 4 à 6 mois pour passer à travers tout le processus d'acceptation pour refaire le toit. Après,
vous avez une question, parce que si c'est une question d'un permis,
oui,
c'est plus efficace de le faire hors du salle de conseil parce que c'est plus des détails personnels. Puis on est comme Monsieur Peart est votre conseiller.
Je pense que c'est important que je finisse, pas seulement pour moi, mais pour en venir ensuite à ma question.
OK, parfait.
Donc, pour finir cette histoire, la mort dans l'âme, mon épouse et moi avons donc décidé de refaire notre toit à l'identique, c'est-à-dire avec du goudron qui n'est pas du tout écologique, mais aussi avec du gravier, puisque c'était la manière la plus rapide et la plus efficace de régler notre problème. J'ai fait donc une demande de permis et puis j'ai eu la surprise d'avoir actuellement ce matin reçu une demande de l'administration qui me demandait de fournir, alors que je leur précisais que je voulais refaire mon toit à l'identique, de fournir des échantillons pour le nouveau toit. Alors au début, j'ai cru que c'était sérieux, puis je me suis dit, je vais plutôt prendre ça comme une blague belge. J'étais originaire moi-même de Belgique, et je me suis dit que j'allais venir faire un peu d'absurde ce soir. Donc je vais apporter un échantillon de goudron.
OK.
Et j'ai apporté un échantillon de gravier, Madame la mairesse.
OK, merci beaucoup.
Alors, ma question, voilà, elle est très simple. Je veux bien laisser les échantillons à la greffière ce soir.
Oui.
Mais est-ce que le conseil et l'administration pourraient revoir les règles pour ce genre de choses? Non pas pour les rendre plus simples, mais parce que ça empêche les gens qui veulent prendre des mesures écologiques de les réaliser.
OK, merci pour la question et tous les détails. Comme j'avais dit, c'est plus efficace de le faire hors du salle de conseil, mais je pense que M. Peart a peut-être quelques mots sur ça, sans avoir tous les détails du permis.
Sans savoir tous les détails de votre dossier, je ne peux pas vraiment commenter là-dessus. En termes des je parlais juste en façon générale, mais les règles, ça existe pour les pentes. Oui, il y a comme une angle après laquelle c'est plus plat, c'est en pente. Puis non, c'est des règles qui s'appliquent pas toujours à 100% pour tous les cas, mais ça se peut que ça s'applique pour les 98, les 99. Peut-être la vôtre, c'est le centième qui ne matche pas. Mais je ne peux pas vraiment commenter là-dessus parce que ça me semble que c'est un cas très spécifique. Alors, comme la mairesse vous conseille, la meilleure façon de le faire, c'est de faire ça offline, puis on va commenter là-dessus.
Merci. Merci et j'espère que vous êtes là pour la consultation publique sur Claremont. Merci. Prochaine question.
Okay. Hi, Mayor Smith and council members. I'm here on the...
And your name?
Oh, sorry, Cordell Hennebury.
Okay.
So I'm here regarding the train situation in Lower Westmount. Thanks for a little bit of an update. Just wanted to put forth a couple of impact statements, and then I have a series of questions, if I may. So regarding what's happening, we've got trains idling right outside of our residences. It's a low-frequency harmonic that permeates everything in our residences. If you do a quick Google search, you will find that low-frequency noise is known to have negative impact on the functioning of humans. Both physiological and psychological. I assume physiological takes a little longer than a week, but psychological is pretty much immediate. As soon as they turn those locomotives off or they move on, actually they do not turn them off, but as soon as they move on, you feel a sense of relief and you realize that the pattern is related to the trains parked right outside of your home. Residents of the area were not notified that this was going to happen. We received absolutely no notification.
As was this, which is a similar situation to the city. Yeah.
And can I just say thank you? Last year we had an issue with creosote railway ties being placed right on the other side, and you were so helpful, and we really appreciated it. To no avail, of course. They got a little fine, and that was the end of that. But we really appreciated it, and now we're here again. So I guess you were not. The council was not made aware that this was part of their plan. I'm shocked. So I guess the answer to the next question is of no use. Why were residents not considered consulted nor notified? I got that one. What are they doing with the trains exactly is a question that I have, because it's essentially we have a switch yard in our backyard. You had explained that they were doing some sort of a transition because Lucien Lallier is closed. So there are empty trains idling behind our home.
They're going to Vendôme. So I'll let you get to if you could just get to your next question.
Okay, yeah, I'm just going to fire those out right away. Okay, so question number 4. How long will this go on? Do we know? 6 months.
So,
yeah, okay, fantastic. What is Westmount's plan as far as how they're going to tackle this? And I know that it was, again, to no avail last year, as hard as you worked to get it happening. What's the plan of attack?
So I'll let Councillor Kez weigh in after because she's been working very hard on this. But our administration and my office has and myself have been, so the rail lines are CP.
Okay.
And the actual trains are EXO. And it happens in
Right.
Westmount, but trains are kind of operate on their own thing as well.
Yes,
So we have been in touch with EXO, with CP, with our member of parliament as well, because it comes under federal jurisdiction, to have her involved.
Okay.
But the ideal situation would be to have them as far away as possible from, the work needs to be done at Lucien Lallier. So the station has to be closed during that time.
Yeah.
And this is sometimes the pain of infrastructure work. But we're trying to see if we can find a better solution to have them moved and sitting elsewhere where they're not directly in front of homes. Councillor Kez, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Pretty much it. As soon as I found out a week ago.
Right. Yeah.
And since that week, I've been asking, could it be east of Atwater? No, it can't because MTQ's doing work. We've got to put those locomotives not in the backyards of people in front of their homes.
Yeah.
And that's what we're pushing to do, and that's why the city, the administration, political level, this is, something that we're asking for because it's not acceptable.
Okay, because one thing I can say for sure is they are not stopping by the running track, which seems like a pretty good place to do it.
That's exactly
So
where
that
it's
is
from the
what
wow.
is
I don't
Councillor Kez
understand.
and Aronson have recommended.
Yeah, fantastic, fantastic. Okay,
Okay.
so question 7, really quickly. How can we, the residents, help you?
I think
What
we've,
do we do?
You could call EXO. There's a number on that paper.
And
just
call them.
Just call them, call your,
Okay.
just
okay,
call
and
them.
now we need to move to, you've got a lineup behind you,
Okay,
but thank you.
appreciate
And I
it.
know that this is an incredibly important issue for District 7 and 8
I
right
feel
now.
confident you're on it. I really appreciate
Okay.
it. Thank you.
Thank
very
you.
much. Thank you.
Next question.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the council. My name is Paul Yaknin. I live on Gray Avenue. So my first question is, am I out of order speaking at this meeting?
Technically, we typically allow Westmount residents before we have residents outside, but I see you've been standing up. Is it an issue that's pertinent to what we're discussing tonight?
It's a dog issue.
Okay, if you could ask your question very quickly.
Of course. And I'm puzzled by the designation of the Summit Woods as a dog run.
It's not, it's a
I know
dog
the dog
exercise
runs.
area. Yeah.
It seems to me a place where people come with dogs, people walk, there are children there are runners there. The other dog runs, say the one in Westmount Park, you'll never see someone running in that dog run. So I think the question really has to be, by what criteria do you designate the Summit Woods dog run?
It's a dog exercise area where you can also do all those other things
Yes.
As well. So thank you for your question.
Thank you very much.
Next question.
Hi there. My name is Sharik Mikalian. I am wondering what the city of Westmount intends to do regarding some situations of harassment happening around the Summit Woods, where some residents are taking matters into their own hands. I myself was a witness to such harassment by some residents of Summit Circle who think that they are taking matters into their own hands, and basically this kind of vigilantism is not appropriate. And I'm just wondering, what is the city's response to this, and what is going to be done about this?
I would say that's unfortunate. Unfortunately, I can't legislate kindness. But I would hope that we can move on and this can be a less heated discussion for an area that has, let's be honest, this has gone on for a very long, this is not a new situation. We are not making any changes here. So I would hope that, we've all lived through a pandemic, and I'd say that our behavior has probably suffered badly for that, and I think we need to increase civil discourse amongst residents, and that would be a great place to start. And if you feel truly threatened, you are welcome to call the police, or you're welcome to call public security at 989-5222.
Thank you.
That would be my advice to you. Next question. And thank you for posing your question. Next
Hi,
question.
thank you for taking our questions tonight. My name's Dana Evan. I'm also a dog owner and resident and have concerns regarding the off-leash. I am for off-leash in the current way that we've been managing it. I would like to thank Ms. Nezad for bringing to the attention the matters at hand, because I think, and inspiring the City of Westmount to tidy up the bylaws, to maybe increase some of the fines, and to really police what needs to happen to make sure everybody's on board, although I would say the majority have always been on board. I would prefer a less adversarial approach, as most of us would, and we do have a lot of community spirit. But what this has done is really brought people together. It inspired me to do a petition, which I've already submitted, where we have over 1,200 signatures, and a lot of people here supporting the fact that our off-leash laws have been mostly enforced and mostly respected.
Do you have a question?
My question is, what can council do to continue to protect the rights of the off-leash dogs going forward, and to stop these disputes that keep rearing their ugly heads? And are the bylaws sufficient that we can really put some of this to bed without necessarily having to invoke provincial and more further legal matters? And are the laws strong enough? I know you have put forth tonight many changes and amendments and strengthening of the bylaws, but will they be sufficient?
I believe that they are sufficient, and bylaws can always be amended and updated. So I cannot give you any guarantee that the next council and the next group of people that get elected in November 2025, maybe they're all going to run on dog issues, and that there could be changes then. So I cannot predict that there's any change in the future. But what I can say with absolute confidence is what is being proposed tonight is in complete compliance with the provincial law, and it is our responsibility. We have been elected to make, that's why municipal politics is tough, because you are making decisions on the ground in front of people that affect their day-to-day lives. And you have complete access to us to come and ask us questions about that. So I believe that I know, I don't just believe, I know, and we have had outside legal consultation on this as well as internal, that this is in complete compliance, and will hopefully, and we will, but rest assured, public security will be up there, and there will be tickets, and there will be enforcement, and people will be unhappy about that. And that's going to be part of the education of this, is that the reason why you need a dog permit is so that we can track your dog, that we understand that they have all of their vaccinations, and that we're able to tell if they are a dangerous dog. And so enforcement is going to, we are very good at giving parking tickets, and we're about to get very good at giving dog fines.
And will there be an increased public security presence?
Yes, there will be an increase of public security presence, and they're planning a blitz for the next couple days next week prior to the closing off of off-leash. And there will be a presence there as well after April 15th to ensure that people are following the rules.
And just as a follow-up to this, can there be improvements in the signage, which sometimes is not
and
effective?
that is very much part of, that has been part of the discussion all along, that the signage is going to be improved and much clearer, and there will be entrance points. And we want people to just use the main entrance points. And there will be very clear signage there. You cannot go in there without a Westmount dog license.
And I would love to also suggest that we have more garbage cans, so people, because people do get lazy, that they're really, really being respectful.
Yeah, and
there aren't that many.
Yeah, and people shouldn't be lazy. So
Oh,
this is
for
a
sure.
privilege. This is a privilege. So if you have to carry your dog poo bag out of Summit Woods, then
Well, this is why we need good signage.
yeah,
really
then
good.
that's what you need to do. And if you look around, if you go around Europe, like I was just in London, there's very few garbage cans. But you don't, you take a responsibility and take that. And I applaud you for being, I mean, I'm up there all the time. There is no more, it's like, there's its own police force, the Summit Woods dog walkers, or the people that are walking up there. But they will clearly tell you if you are doing something wrong, and that's a good thing. But the signage will definitely improve.
Thank you.
So thank you for your question. I think Councillor D'Amico has a quick comment.
Thank you.
So I wanted to address the adversarial point that you made. So my recommendation to seek clarity and to get an outside opinion from the provincial government, I think would resolve that issue. You have clarity from the person who made the law, and I think it would make it clear and there would be no discussion. I think that's really the answer to your question.
Well, for me, I have faith in Christina Smith and the council and the municipality of Westmount. So I would rather not go to that level. Thank you.
I understand, but
that's not the clarity I'm hoping for.
It's a law of public order and safety, and it's not a bad thing to ask for clarity on
But
this
I think we can do that. I think we can do this. We have a strong community. And people who really do want to respect law.
And this is our
But really, the only reason we're
next
having this
question.
discussion is because some residents complain that there's non-compliance with the law.
There will always
sad.
be
It's
some
sad.
non-compliance, but the majority, of which we have here, of which I have over 1,200 signatures, are complying. And that's why we're here. So I think we have to go on the majority and strengthen that, rather than start taking it to another legal level or provincial level. That's my personal opinion, but thank you.
Thank you. Next question, and thank you for coming.
John Breslau, 447 Grosvenor. About a year ago, this council indicated that it was planning on selling the RMR Armory, and at that time I came in front of council and asked some questions respecting the evaluations that the council had done in order to ascertain what a fair price would be. As a consequence of that, Laureen Sweeney, in the last edition of the Westmount Independent, wrote a very good article in which she raised a number of somewhat disturbing questions. And my position here today is to actually give council the chance to respond to some of those accusations. She did make one error. Resident Breslau's confused by Mayor's DG's replies. No, Resident Breslau was astounded by the Mayor and DG's replies. Let me take 1 minute to...
Do you have a question?
I certainly do, but let me take 1 minute to reiterate the facts. At the May the 1st, 2003 council meeting, in reply to my question relating to the evaluation of the armory, Mayoress Smith informed me that, quote, multiple assessments had been undertaken and that the information would be provided to me. It was not provided. Rather, the Westmount Legal Department required that I apply for this information under access to information. The response from the city to the CAI was to provide me with an assessment undertaken by the company JLL, the JLL study. And in the covering letter, Maitre Fairland stated that the study was carried out by the City of Westmount, and this was confirmed by the Mayoress on the June the 3rd, 2023 council meeting, in which she stated, quote, the study was undertaken jointly by the DND and the City of Westmount. I then asked the CAI for access to these documents. The response, dated February the 13th, included a sworn, notarized testimony from our current Director General, Julie Mandeville. She stated that there was no study undertaken, nor mandated by the Ville de Westmount, neither in paper nor digital form, neither in Westmount nor at the DND. She also affirmed that the JLL study was not commissioned by the Ville de Westmount. This is, of course, at one level, unbelievable that Westmount would not obtain an independent evaluation of the building that it was planning to sell to the DND. The fact that the city was prepared to hide this fact, which only emerged because of the access to information thing, is deeply troubling. So let me ask the question. There's two questions. Let me ask the first question to give you a chance to respond, which is only fair. Being mayor is difficult. Why would the Ville de Westmount state that they had undertaken a number of evaluations of the RMR when this was not true? Why would the Ville de Westmount state repeatedly that the JLL study was jointly commissioned when this was also not true? That'll be my first question.
I don't believe that was ever stated that it was that was the JLL report. I never said that the JLL report was undertaken by the City of Westmount. I can let our legal team or our Director General answer that, but
Le rapport de JLL qui était mandaté par le SPAC au niveau du fédéral.
I will quote you.
Et vous avez eu une copie.
I think you're
Quote you minute 23. The assessment that you are referring to, the JLL statement, was undertaken by the DND and the City of Westmount. It was both parties involved. That was your statement verbatim, Madam Mayor.
From where? Council or from your access requests?
From council meeting on June the 5th, 2023, minute 22.
I'll have to review those minutes then. I'll have to look at that. So what is your question exactly?
That statement was also made in writing to me by Maître Fairland.
Okay.
So my question is, why would the city go and state these things that they had done, undertaken these independent studies, that the study that was given to me was jointly done when this was not true?
I think you are confusing the study with the assessments of the building.
No, I am not.
So I was referring to the assessments of the building, I believe, and you, I think, are referring to the study.
No,
but I'm not going to debate with you here, Mr. Breslaw, because I feel like we've answered your question. The city clerk has also responded to your access requests. You've made it very clear that you are not supportive of the decision to allow the RMR to continue or to buy and continue to be in that building.
I am going to interrupt you, Mayor, and I'm going to ask you to respond to the question that I asked.
I have responded, and now I'm going to ask you to sit down.
And now I'm going to ask you the second question.
No, you've asked me several questions, and you have a huge lineup behind you, Mr. Breslaw, and I will ask you to be escorted out of the room.
Does the Ville de Westmount plan to commission an evaluation of the RMR Armory?
Are you asking for an assessment of value?
Independent assessment of the RMR Armory. Hang on a second. Are you going to do it or not? Yes or no?
I don't make those decisions by myself, Mr. Breslaw, as you know, but I will defer to the Director General if she feels that is necessary. And then I will ask
Pour
you...
l'instant, il n'y a pas d'évaluation de mandaté à quiconque.
On fait ça?
Thank you. Next question.
Good evening, Madame Mayor and ladies and gentlemen of the Council.
Welcome.
My concern is about the 3 greenhouses behind Victoria Hall.
I share your concern.
A lot of people have covered the dog issue, and I stand with them, and one of the great suggestions was a referendum. It is a sanctuary for all of us, including our dogs. But in regards to the greenhouses, in the spirit of Westmount 2040, I do not understand why money hasn't been allocated to that. I was under the impression on the $6.8 million spent on the major greenhouse that those were also going to be refurbished in the back. I believe that they served a purpose of creating seedlings for all our parks at one time, which now money is being spent at nurseries, as well as it's a great educational tool. Everything we read about the future is about our children learning to grow and grow food and plants, and during days that students have off, there could be great learning experiences in those greenhouses, and hold true for what you're looking for is Westmount 2040.
So I fully agree with you, and I think Council can attest to the fact that this is very much a project that I want to see moving forward in this mandate. They are an abomination. And have been for a long time. We spent an enormous amount of money refurbishing our heritage greenhouse, which is very much part of our city. And only got to that point because they're very difficult to maintain, and it wasn't maintained. And therefore, long story short, here we are with a very, very expensive greenhouse that is very well maintained and is now fully accessible. But the back greenhouses that used to, as you said, used to grow the plants that would then get planted in the beds in Westmount Park or on Forden Avenue or wherever we have beds throughout the city, we don't use them in the same way anymore. What we do know we have, and we have the numbers for this, we have a massive wait list for community gardens. And that is an area that's surrounded, it's a very dense area, it's surrounded by a lot of apartments of people who wouldn't have a community garden. So I think there's an opportunity to have a mix. We still need some working greenhouses for our public works team, but I would love to open it up to be this is just my idea, this is not voted on, this is not costed, but we are looking at different options there to open it up to really have it as a community gardens for people, not only for the manoir, because I think that would be a wonderful activity for the people living in the manoir, but as well for schools to be able to be part of that and to have like edible gardens and things like that. So it is a project that our engineering team has begun looking at in terms of feasibility, but it is not on this year's capital works budget. Okay. But it is a project I believe very deeply in.
Okay, and in the same frame is, as your engineers look at it, I hope they look at materials that other countries are using today, such as solar conductive windows and glass, which I was hoping that the original one, the main one would be used, and it might have been able to provide electricity to Victoria Hall or the manoir partially. I'm hoping that you look towards those type of things.
Yeah, and the challenge with that is that it was a heritage, it's rebuilt in the exact same way. This would be...
Glass could have had conductors in it regardless. There are companies throughout Europe that are doing towers as well as greenhouses throughout all of Europe.
So thank you for your feedback, and thank you for putting it on in the public sphere, and I hope that the Westbound Independent writes an article about what's going to happen.
We did last week. I did.
But a main article, not just the letters. I'll get right in a second. Hi, welcome.
Hi, Council. My name is Mark. I live on Belmont. I'm a recent resident of Westmount.
Welcome.
Thank you. First of all, I stand here in gratitude for what you guys do. It's not easy, and yeah, thank you. My question is actually a really simple one. I was just reading the document now, and as for Section 12, the amendment says something along the lines of like the park being open from 9 to 6. Is there an implication in that the dog parks are closed as of 6?
Sorry, that is, I think, a paper copy that had not been updated. Because there had been a typo, right, on the 9 to 6 p.m., or is it, which you're in Section 12?
Yeah, there's a section that says, like, basically, the amendment says now dog owners off-leash can walk their dogs between 9 and 6, off-leash, and then but there's nothing that says after that, so I just want to make sure it's just not unclear.
No, it's the same time, but the time change written in here is different, so that needs to be updated to what's actually there. So thank you for raising, Councillor Aronson also raised that.
Does that mean, just to make sure, after 6 p.m., I can still take my dog there, no issues?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
It's like the times are not being changed.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Good evening.
Bienvenue.
Hi, my name is John Triconi. I'm the owner of the Tavern on the Square in Westmount, and I'm here to discuss something that none of us want to talk about, but I think it's time we do, and would be the impact of social unrest on businesses and on this neighborhood. I believe that I'm tired of being silenced and called insensitive due to this issue while violent language is being used outside my restaurant, while I'm losing hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I do not wish to minimize global conflict at all. And that is very clear that I do not hate protesters, and I support the right to protest. But what I don't support is the ignorance of my elected officials to my problems. I have gotten very little communication. I've been played hot potato with for 6 months through all levels of government, all while remaining silent and having to keep a smile on my face and serve the customers. Now, whose job is it to oversee small businesses in Westmount and make sure we all don't go under? Because it doesn't take a genius to look around and to see that we are struggling, and we all have to keep a smile on our face and serve the wealthiest demographic in Canada, and while being ignored. Now, my terrace is opening.
Question.
The question would be, how would we assist businesses in Westmount who are undergoing some pretty messed up times?
So thank you for your question. As you know, I think it's not fair to say that I talk to you fairly frequently. And I fully understand. So just so everybody understands what the issue is here. After October 7th, several times a week, in front of John's restaurant.
On my property.
On his property. The protests end up because they come to the pro-Palestinian protests come because they end up in front of the Israeli consulate. And so other businesses are affected, but nobody quite like Tavern on the Square because it really is right at eye level. I have enormous empathy for this. And I've worked very, very hard since that time, since October 7th, with the city, with nagging. I am the worst nag of the City of Montreal for increased police protection, especially around our schools and our synagogues, but as well around our businesses. Has it been perfect? Absolutely not, because sometimes they know the protest is coming, sometimes they don't know, and sometimes they get them the information and sometimes they don't. But that part has been inconsistent on the part of the police. Again, the police force reports into Montreal. I would love to be able to stop I'm with you. I fully support our right to protest. We want to live in a country where you can protest.
That's Canada.
But I want to also be able to safely ensure that a senior citizen can get to RadiMed for a mammogram during a protest. And I want people to feel comfortable sitting in a restaurant and being able to leave and not feel like they're trapped inside. So finding this, but it has become very, very difficult to get support from different levels of government. Like I don't have a police force. I'm just a little tiny town of 20,000
It's also the unwillingness to discuss issues that is not your problem, but in Canada, how just like COVID, we're being silenced into just putting up with society's problems. This is the same situation that I had during COVID, where I'm being shamed into not advocating for my rights. And I think time is up. It's been 6 months. I've been waiting around and having people say things I will not repeat about my family. And I think that it's time for the City of Westmount to maybe have a bit of a presence there and maybe start promoting economic development in that area, which, by the way, will be dead soon if this keeps up.
So as you know, I am a full supporter of you. I'm a frequent customer.
We're friends, actually. Yeah.
But I know how difficult this issue is, and we are.
I don't think.
I don't know. Obviously,
no,
I don't
don't.
live.
Sorry.
I don't live your life. I don't live your life. But I know the impact that the protests have had on this area. And we are trying to work with our businesses and we are trying to do everything that we can within the powers that we can. But it is something that we will discuss as a group, and we will discuss with our urban planning team of like and the police, who I think are still here.
I think that they. Oh, no, they left early again.
Public security.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
So to have better protections, especially in Montreal. If there's one thing that we love, it is terrace season. And so that needs to be protected, and we need to look at that in a different way than we've been looking at that since October. So
I also love terrace season, but I like paying my bills more, and this is really a big problem. And I have to decide what to do with my terrace 2 weeks ago. And I've been trying to get people together. I've been trying to create interjurisdictional committees to discuss this. But clearly no one reads these emails.
Yes, our urban planning team is very happy to work with you on the terrace, but we will also, this is a conversation that we can have.
I will close with one thing, and I would thank you for your time, is that during COVID, they decided, the City of Westmount and all over Canada, you know what? Let's let them run their businesses properly. Let's let them. Why did that stop? Why do we need to go back to over-restricting businesses, and with this terrace situation, which last year, by the way, was a nightmare with Public Works, as they pretty much, after putting out my terrace, said, oh, you can't do that. just this year. When are we going to allow us to prosper?
So I'm not going to get into the specifics of a permit detail because it is.
Thank you.
We have fire codes and things like that, which is not a bad thing. But your terrace is on private domain, and we are happy to help you accommodate that. But we can discuss the other issues as well. But I urge everybody in this room, go book a table at Tavern on the Square, because we do need to support our local restaurants and our local businesses, or we will not have a commercial sector left. So.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, this is our last question because we are over our time allotment and we have 18 questions online that we didn't get to that we will get to first thing in the second question period. Bienvenue.
Merci. Lucien Savard, Avenue Claremont. Je pense que j'aime ça être le dernier. J'ai fait ça pour 500 Claremont. J'étais le dernier parce qu'à l'époque, ceux qui s'en souviennent, tous ceux qui étaient passés avant moi étaient contre le projet.
Oui.
Je me suis présenté en disant « Je supporte le projet ». Je n'ai pas pu me rasseoir parce qu'il n'y avait personne qui me laissait une place pour rasseoir par la suite. Bon, ce soir, dans un premier temps, j'ai appris quelque chose qui me sidère. Les gens du quartier près de la voie ferrée aux prises avec un problème comme celui-là, c'est inacceptable.
Oui.
Toutes les corporations publiques, dont le CN, dans leur rapport annuel, doivent aux actionnaires rendre compte officiellement par écrit, lors de l'Assemblée générale aussi, de ce qu'ils font pour l'environnement, pour la saine gouvernance, pour le sociétal. Le CN est dans ça aussi.
Le CP.
Le CP. Toutes les compagnies publiques le sont. Moi, à mon avis, vous devez avoir un plan. C'est pas pour ça que je suis venu ce soir, c'est parce que j'ai entendu ça. Vous devez avoir un plan d'action spécifique pour libérer ces gens-là de ce martyre. Un plan d'action spécifique, ça fait entre autres appel aux médias. À mon avis, la responsable des médias doit être très active au niveau de la télévision, de la radio, des médias écrits, pour déplorer cette situation-là, pour que le CN, le CP, dis-je, réagisse. Mais ça, c'est une étape dans un plan d'action que vous devez formuler parce qu'ils ne sont pas à l'écoute des citoyens, ces grosses corporations-là. C'est un petit problème à Westmount.
OK.
C'est un commentaire que je faisais.
C'est un bon conseil.
Ça m'amène à
Et
ma
votre
présence ce soir,
à votre
ma
question.
Oui. Vous vous souvenez peut-être que je suis venu il y a environ 2 ans déplorer le fait que, comme je suis presque en face de Marianapolis, les parents de ces étudiants-là viennent chercher leur enfant. Et puis, je déplorais le fait qu'il y a une réglementation ici qui dit 3 minutes. 3 minutes idling.
Oui.
Mais je veux dire, il y a des gens qui sont là pendant 20 minutes. Jamais on leur adresse la parole pour leur dire « Monsieur, madame, c'est 3 minutes à Westmount. » Vous savez, la protection de l'environnement, c'est la somme de petites initiatives. Il peut y avoir des grandes initiatives, mais des petites initiatives. En voilà une. Être certain que les gens sont conscients qu'au-delà de 3 minutes, c'est non. Vous avez une infraction, monsieur, voici, ou madame, voici. Mon point, c'est que 3 minutes...
C'est assez.
C'est trop. Parce que la ville d'Outremont, si vous suivez ce qui se passe dans les villes comme à proximité, la ville d'Outremont a légiféré en février. La ville d'Outremont a aussi un service de sécurité publique comme nous. Et puis la législation en place maintenant à Outremont, 10 secondes.
10 secondes.
10 secondes. En fait, toutes les voitures sont équipées d'un mécanisme. Les voitures plus récentes sont équipées d'un mécanisme quand on met le pied sur le frein, clic. Si on n'a pas une auto électrique, une auto à combustion, le moteur va s'arrêter tout simplement. Il faut volontairement, c'est mal intentionné, de vouloir garder l'auto fonctionnelle pendant 10 minutes, 12 minutes, 15 minutes, la climatisation, le chauffage, toutes les raisons sont bonnes. Moi, je me sens assez mal parce que je m'est arrivé de parler à des parents dans les voitures. Monsieur, rappelez-vous qu'à Westmount, c'est 3 minutes. On ne sait pas, on ne savait pas que c'était 3 minutes. Certaines personnes réagissent bien, mais d'autres personnes, leur ego est atteint, puis j'ai des commentaires que je ne répéterai pas ici ce soir. Donc moi, je vous invite à regarder ça de plus près.
OK, on va regarder qu'est-ce qui se passe à Outremont maintenant avec les 10 secondes. Je n'étais pas au courant de ça. Puis on va se parler de... C'est encore une chose qu'ont ont besoin les gens, la sécurité publique, sur la rue, en face des gens comme ça, pour donner des billets. C'est comme...
Finalement, je vous écoute parler ce soir, puis ça souligne vraiment le fait que aller en politique, c'est pas un concours de popularité. Prenez vos décisions, vivez avec vos décisions.
Oui, c'est ça.
Bravo.
Et prenez des décisions. Ça, c'est la chose.
On vous a élu pour
ça, c'est le job.
Exactement.
Et en chaque 4 ans, tu peux trouver quelqu'un d'autre pour prendre des décisions.
Sont meilleures. Merci.
Merci beaucoup aux consultations publiques sur Claremont. OK, on ne va pas prendre les questions en ligne. Peut-être on va faire ça à la fin parce que c'est plus qu'une heure maintenant. Maintenant, on va changer au... So for those of you who don't normally come to these meetings, this is when it would be considered not rude to leave. Because we now move into the larger part of the agenda where we're going to move all the motions and all of the projects and the money that we spend throughout the city. And we are tabling the notice of motion for the dog bylaw. Okay? All right. On va commencer avec l'adoption de l'ordre du jour. Conseillère Roux.
Merci, Madame la mairesse. Alors, je propose que l'ordre du jour de la séance ordinaire du Conseil du 8 avril 2024 soit adopté.
Merci.
Avec le retrait du point 9, manège militaire, autorisation d'occuper le bâtiment, et aussi l'ajout du point 27.1, congédiement d'un employé, matricule 05-630 sous affaires nouvelles.
Merci beaucoup. Un appuyeur, c'est conseillère Chamy. All in favor? Carried. Numéro 5, c'est encore Madame Roux, approbation de procès-verbal.
So I move that the minutes of the regular council sitting held on March 18, 2024 be adopted.
Merci beaucoup. Puis un appuyeur encore, c'est le conseillère Chamy. Tout en faveur? Carried. We now move to reports to council. 6.1 with correspondence. The following documents are tabled. La liste des règlements adoptés à l'Assemblée ordinaire du Conseil d'agglomération de 21 mars 2024. Lettre du service du greffe de la Ville de Montréal ayant pour l'objet Assemblée du Conseil d'agglomération du 21 mars 2024. Résolution CG 24-0164. Projet de règlement PRCG 140297 intitulé Règlement modifiant le schéma d'aménagement de la développement de l'agglomération de Montréal, RCG 14029, ainsi que la résolution CG 240164 et le projet de règlement PRCG 14029-7. 6.2, le procès-verbal du comité plénier. Councillor Roux.
Yeah. The minutes of the General Committee of Council meeting held on February 20th, 2024 are tabled and are available on the city's website.
Thank you. 6.3, minutes of the Transportation Advisory Committee. Councillor Bostock.
Le procès-verbal de la rencontre du comité consultatif sur les transports tenue le 16 janvier 2024 est déposé et disponible sur le site web de la Ville.
Merci beaucoup. 6.4, c'est le rapport de main-d'œuvre. Councillor Chamy.
Merci, Madame la mairesse. Le rapport de la main-d'œuvre pour le mois de février 2024 est maintenant déposé.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you. 6.5, registre des paiements. Councillor D'Amico.
Merci, Madame la mairesse. La liste des paiements pour le mois de février 2024 est déposée.
Merci beaucoup. 6.6, 6.6, list of approvals in virtue of bylaw 1507 is Councillor Chamy.
Merci, Madame la mairesse. Conformément au règlement 1507 sur la délégation de pouvoir à certains employés de la Ville de Westmount, la liste d'autorisation de dépenses pour le mois de février 2024 est maintenant déposée.
Merci beaucoup. And 6.7, the list of duties on transfer is Councillor D'Amico.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The list of duties on transfers for the month of February 2024 are tabled.
Thank you. Puis le 6.8, c'est le dépôt de procès-verbaux de correction, résolution 2024-0373, 2023-12 0347 et 2024-0369. Madame la greffière de la Ville.
Oui. Conformément à l'article 92.1 de la Loi sur les cités et villes, je souhaiterais déposer les procès-verbaux de correction portant sur les résolutions 2024-0373, 2023-12-347 et 2024-0369.
Merci beaucoup. Numéro 7, number 7. Orientation du Conseil sur les sujets devant être présentés au Conseil d'agglomération de Montréal. Councillor Roux.
Alors, je propose que la mairesse ou en son absence, la mairesse suppléante soit autorisée à prendre toute décision qu'elle jugera opportune à l'égard des sujets inscrits à l'ordre du jour de la séance du Conseil d'agglomération de Montréal devant se tenir le 18 avril 2024 et ce, dans le meilleur intérêt de la Ville de Westmount et de ses résidents.
Merci beaucoup. Un appuyeur, c'est Councillor Chamy. All in favor? Thank you. Item number 8, bylaw, c'est l'adoption règlement 1609 relatif à la démolition d'immeubles greffière de la Ville.
Oui, donc les copies du règlement ont été remises à tous les membres du Conseil et mises à la disposition du public en temps opportun. Donc, l'objet de ce règlement est d'abroger l'actuel règlement numéro 1317 intitulé « Règlement concernant la démolition » et de le remplacer afin de se conformer au projet de loi 16 intitulé « Loi modifiant la loi sur le patrimoine culturel et d'autres dispositions législatives » et par le fait même de modifier certaines dispositions afin de mieux répondre à la mission de protection du patrimoine de Westmount. En ce qui a trait aux modifications, donc, le projet de règlement a fait l'objet des modifications suivantes. À l'article 1.5, les définitions de « committee » en anglais, façade principale et mur extérieur ont été modifiées. Au paragraphe 3 de l'article 1.9, dans la version française, paragraphe 4 est corrigé par paragraphe 3. À l'article 1.12, une précision est ajoutée à l'effet qu'il s'agit de travaux de démolition. Au paragraphe 1A, 2A et 4A de l'article 3.1, une correction est apportée à la formulation du texte en anglais. Au paragraphe 2 et 3 de l'article 3.1, une exception est ajoutée pour les bâtiments accessoires construits après 1940 et le paragraphe 4b est supprimé afin de ne plus comptabiliser les superficies des planchers pour les bâtiments accessoires dans le calcul du pourcentage de démolition. Une copie de ces modifications est mise à la disposition du public.
Merci. Est-ce que je peux avoir la déclaration de la part de chaque membre du Conseil présent à l'effet qu'il ou elle a lu le règlement? Sorry. Merci beaucoup. Councillor P.I.I.A.
Merci, Madame la Mairesse. I move that bylaw number 1609, entitled Bylaw Concerning the Demolition of Buildings, be adopted.
Thank you very much. A seconder on this will be Councillor Gallery. Do you have anything you want to add to this?
I've discussed this before. This is a bit of a rewrite of our previous demolition bylaw. Over the years, we've kind of encountered some opportunities to tweak, and so this is that exercise where we can better define what constitutes a demolition. And so there are some refined definitions, and the scope is now simplified as to what is a demolition and what is not. And of course, the fines that are associated with an illegitimate or illegal demolition are raised to the maximum that are allowable by the province.
Yep. Okay. Thank you very much. As we had stated before, this is building on what is already established in Westmount as a very dedicated preservation of our built heritage and updating that to reflect what would be warranted in today's fines and whatnot. All right, all in favor? Carried. I declare the bylaw 1609, entitled Bylaw Concerning the Demolition of Buildings, having been duly adopted. It is ordered that notices be given as required by law. Item number 9.
We needed a seconder.
Oh, a seconder was Councillor Gallery. Sorry, all in favor? Aye. Carried. Item 9 is removed. Item 10 is Councillor Roux, approval of the 2024 grants for local nonprofit organization.
Merci. Considérant la durée de cette soirée, vous aimeriez peut-être que je saute les attendus que, mais je vais quand même le faire parce que je pense que c'est important que les gens comprennent pourquoi on fait ça. Alors, attendu que selon l'article 4, 90 et 91 de la Loi sur les compétences municipales, RLRQ, C.C-47.1, Toute municipalité peut notamment, à l'égard de la culture, des loisirs, des activités et des parcs, accorder toute aide qu'elle juge appropriée. Attendu que les demandes de subvention des groupes communautaires et organismes locaux pour l'année 2024 ont fait l'objet d'une évaluation par l'administration conformément aux politiques de la Ville sur l'aide financière en matière de loisirs et de culture. Attendu que le comité plénier du Conseil a passé en revue les demandes des organismes locaux sans but lucratif. Attendu que la directrice de la bibliothèque et des événements communautaires recommande que les dites demandes soient approuvées. Je propose que les subventions offertes par la Ville de Westmount pour l'année 2024, totalisant 82 500 $ soient approuvées comme suit. Bibliothèque et Centre d'informatique Atwater, une subvention de soutien de 37 500 $ pour aider à financer ses coûts opérationnels. Centre communautaire de l'Avenue Green, Inc., une subvention de soutien de 13 500 $ pour aider à financer ses coûts opérationnels. Le Centre des arts visuels, une subvention de 6 000 $ pour les services fournis à la Ville. La batterie de Westmount, une subvention de soutien de 2 000 $ pour aider à financer les coûts opérationnels. L'Association historique de Westmount, une subvention de soutien de 3 500 $ pour aider à financer ses coûts opérationnels. Et finalement, les YMCA du Québec, celui de Westmount plus particulièrement, une subvention de soutien de 20 000 $ pour les programmes offerts à la Ville et la communauté en général. Le Centre Compte-Activité, une subvention de soutien dont le mandat sera déterminé en fonction d'une attente de partenariat pour 2024, présentement en cours d'élaboration. Que les dépenses qui soient imputées conformément aux informations financières inscrites au sommaire décisionnel numéro 2024-2225.
Thank you very much. This will be seconded by Councillor D'Amico. Do you want to add any further context to this? These are great community organizations that we support.
Exactement. Alors, à la Ville, on essaie de fournir le plus de services possible aux résidents, mais on ne peut pas tout faire. Puis heureusement, il y a des organismes communautaires qui font du travail extraordinaire et qui nous donnent un bon coup de main pour offrir plus de services à la communauté. Alors, on essaie de les aider comme on peut. Merci.
Merci beaucoup. So seconded by Councillor D'Amico. All in favor? Carried. This is number 11 is Councillor Aronson, agreement collection of garbage, food waste, yard waste, recyclable materials on private property.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm going to just do the whereases to give some context to what we're doing here. Whereas the city collects garbage, food waste, yard waste, and recyclable materials from public streets and alleys, and whereas the city is not required to carry out such collections on private streets, alleys, passageways, or property, but whereas the property owners wish to give their consent to the city's trucks and those of its subcontractors to use their private streets, alleys, passageways, or properties to carry out said collection, and whereas the city agrees to carry out such collection for the convenience of the people who live or work there. I move that the mayor and the director of legal services and city clerk be authorized to sign for and in the name of the city the agreement attached hereto with any property owner authorizing the city and its subcontractors to carry out the collection of garbage, food waste, yard waste, and recyclable materials on their street, alley, passageway, or private property.
Thank you very much. A seconder on this will be Councillor Gallery. You want to add any further comments on this?
Just one line. There are some alleys and passageways in the city that are actually not owned by the city, and we need permission of the owners to pass our trucks over them in order to collect food waste, garbage, etc. So this allows us to enter into an agreement with those property owners to have access to picking up the garbage. It's
via private alleyways.
Via private alleyway.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
Thank you.
Is now item number 12, renewal of working and remuneration conditions of management personnel. As Councillor Shammy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Whereas the working and remuneration conditions of management personnel starting January 1st, 2019 expired on December 31st, 2023, whereas the Human Resources Department in collaboration with the Director General has reviewed certain normative clauses to reflect the evolution of the organization and the updating of various applicable laws and matched certain clauses to what has been granted to unionized staff. I move, Madam Mayor, that Council approve the revised working conditions and remuneration of management personnel for the period from January 1st, 2024 to December 31st, 2027, and that Council authorize the overall expenditure for the payment of retroactivity as of January 1st, 2024, in accordance with the decision-making file number 2024-2237.
Thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor D'Amico. Do you want to add any further comments on this?
It's just an updating of our personnel conditions.
Perfect. All in favor? Carried. Item number 13, adoption of a policy allocation of mobile phone allowances. Again, is Councillor Chamy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Whereas whereas Bill 25, entitled An Act to Modernize Legislative Provisions as regards the protection of personal information, was adopted in September 2021 and introduced a major reform pertaining to the protection of personal information in Quebec. Whereas the city wishes to improve its management of employee mobile phones by explaining the roles and responsibilities of each employee in the use of mobile phones in the performance of their duties for the city, by establishing terms and conditions for the allocation of allowances, and by informing various stakeholders of the mechanism put in place to protect personal information in the event of loss or theft of the device. I move, Madam Mayor, that the policy allocation of mobile phones allowances be adopted.
Thank you very much. A seconder, again, is Councillor D'Amico. Do you want to have any further clarification on this? No?
Straightforward.
All in favor? Thank you. Now we have a nomination. Item number 14, nomination conseillère juridique, service juridique et greffe. Conseillère Chamy.
Merci, Madame la Mairesse. I move that Ms. Myriam Léger be appointed to the position of legal advisor of the Legal Services and City Clerk's Office, Grade 7, effective September 3rd, 2024, in accordance with the salary recommendations stipulated in the working decision-making file number 2024-2247, and according to the terms provided for in the working conditions and remuneration of management personnel, and that this appointment be on a permanent basis once Ms. Léger has completed a probationary period in accordance with Section 2 of the working conditions and remuneration of management personnel.
Thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor Aronson. Any further comments?
Welcome aboard, Madam.
Welcome aboard.
Ms. Léger.
All in favor? Carried. Again, Councillor Chamy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Item number 15, appel d'offres sur invitation, service de téléphonie hébergé. Conseillère Chamy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move to authorize an expenditure of $64,458.88, including tax credits, for the hosted telephone service tendered by invitation number INV-2024-007, and to award to IT Solutions, Inc., the contract for this purpose at its bid price for a maximum amount of $70,590.88, including taxes, the whole in conformity with the contractual documents of the call for tender by invitation INV 2024-007, and finally to allocate this expenditure in accordance with the financial information included in the decision-making file number 2024-2238.
Merci beaucoup. A seconder on this will be Councillor D'Amico. Any further comments? No? All in favor? Carried. Item number 16, which was one of our major projects this summer, is going to be moved by Councillor P.I.I.A, and it is the appel d'offres public reconstruction de l'avenue Upper Lansdowne et remplacement de la conduite aqueduct. Councillor P.I.I.A.
Merci, Madame la Mairesse. Whereas on March 22nd of 2024, a public tender opening was held for the reconstruction of Upper Lansdowne Avenue and the replacement of the water main. Public tender number PUB-2024-006, and minutes prepared by the City Clerk's Office are submitted at this meeting. Whereas following the analysis of the open tenders, Kojalac Inc. is the lowest conforming bidder, as it appears from the report prepared by the Purchasing Division, which is submitted at this meeting. I move to authorize an expenditure in the amount of $6,192,762.75, including tax credits for the reconstruction of Upper Lansdowne Avenue and the replacement of the water main, public tender number PUB-2024-006. To award to Kojak Inc. the contract for this purpose at its bid price for a maximum amount of $6,781,882.58, including taxes, the whole in conformity with the contractual documents of the public call for tenders PUB-2024-006.
Thank you. Oh,
To
sorry.
allocate this expenditure in accordance with the financial information included in the decision-making file number 2024-2226.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor D'Amico. Any further comments on this from either you or the councillor from the district?
As I opened before, this is a large project. It'll be invasive, but it has a start date and an end date, and then after it's done, it will be a better what we started with.
Yeah, certainly. Councillor D'Amico?
Yes, if any residents have any questions regarding the project, there will be a letter that will be put out, and they can contact the phone numbers on that letter for additional information. Thank you.
Perfect. All in favor? Aye. Carried. Item number 17, renewal of a contract, Esri Entreprise Agreement for Small Municipalities. This is Councillor Shammy again.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Whereas on April 6th, 2021, the Municipal Council awarded the contract to Esri Canada Limited for the Esri Enterprise Agreement for Small Municipalities, Resolution 2021-0469. Whereas the Director of Information Technologies Department recommends renewing this contract for a period of 3 years, I move, Madam Mayor, to authorize the renewal of the contract awarded to Esri Canada Limited for the Esri Enterprise Agreement for Small Municipalities, Resolution 2021-0469, for a period of 3 years for a maximum amount of $112,260 zero before taxes, the whole in conformity with the contractual documents in the proposal 0035221, to authorize the expenditure of $38,131.46, including tax credits for the 2024 fiscal year for the purpose of this contract, and to allocate this expenditure in accordance with the financial information included in the decision-making file 2024-2239.
Thank you, Councillor Shammy. A seconder on this, Councillor Gallery. Do you want to add any further comments? No? All in favor? Carried. Now we move into some notices of motion. Notice of motion bylaw 1621 on the occupancy of the public domain. Councillor Peart.
Merci, Madame la Mairesse. I give notice of the intention to submit for adoption at a subsequent meeting of council, bylaw number 1621, entitled Bylaw on the Occupancy of the Public Domain. I hereby table the draft of said bylaw. And the object of this bylaw is to provide a framework for the occupation of the public domain on the territory of the City of Westmount. A copy of the draft bylaw is available for public consultation.
Thank you. And because it's a notice of motion, it is not a vote. Item number 19, notice of motion bylaw 1522-2024-1, amending bylaw 1522 concerning dogs and the licensing thereof. Councillor Kez.
Thank you. Je donne avis de la motion de l'intention de soumettre à une séance ultérieure du Conseil municipal le règlement 1522, 13 Union 2024, 13 Union 1, intitulé Règlement modifiant le règlement 1522 concernant les chiens et les permis s'y apportant. I hereby table the draft bylaw. I hereby table the draft of the said bylaw. The object of this bylaw is to clarify the dog parks and dog exercise areas, as well as the obligation and duties that dog guardians must respect within the territory of the City of Westmount. A copy of the draft bylaw is available for public consultation.
Thank you very much. Item number 20, adoption of bylaw 1615, amending bylaw 1612 to establish tariffs for the 2024 fiscal year. La greffière de la ville.
So the copies of the bylaw have been remitted to all members of council and are available for public reference in due course. The object of this bylaw is to make corrections to the administrative procedures related to tariffs for applications for plan review.
Merci beaucoup. Est-ce que je peux avoir la déclaration de la part de chaque membre du conseil présent à l'effet qu'il ou elle a lu le règlement? Thank you. Councillor D'Amico.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the bylaw number 1615 entitled Bylaw Amending Bylaw 1612 to establish tariffs for the 2024 fiscal year be adopted.
Thank you very much.
Did I skip something?
Wait, did you? Councillor D'Amico, hang on.
I'm at 20.
No, that's right. So seconded by, I just need, you didn't second, you didn't skip anything, I don't believe.
I don't think so.
No, seconded by Councillor Gallery. Do you want to add any further comments? No? All in favor? Carried. Item number 21, adoption règlement. Oh, je m'excuse. Item 20, I declare the bylaw number 1615 entitled Bylaw Amending 1612 to establish tariffs for the 2024 fiscal year having been duly adopted. It is ordered that notices be given as required by law. Item 21, adoption of bylaw 1617 concerning waste management. La greffière de la ville.
Copies of the bylaw have been remitted to all members of council and are available for public reference in due course. The object of the bylaw is to ensure compliance between the regulatory provisions and the new contract for the collection and transport of household waste and food waste, which will come into effect on May 1st, 2024. This bylaw repeals Waste Management Bylaw 1425.
Merci beaucoup. Est-ce que je peux avoir la déclaration de la part de chaque membre du Conseil présent à la fin qu'il ou elle a lu le règlement? Thank you. Councillor Aronson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that bylaw number 1617 entitled Bylaw Concerning Waste Management be adopted.
Thank you. A seconder will be Councillor Bostock. Do you have any further comments on this? This is
We've been through
shared.
this quite a bit, Madam Mayor, but just a reminder, this is just some housekeeping items to bring our current waste bylaw into conformity with the contracts that we've undertaken in terms of the pickup and locations of various kinds of waste.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
all in favor? Anyone opposed? Councillor Roux, okay, thank you. That is moved. Item number 22. I need to declare again. I declare that bylaw number 1617 entitled Bylaw Concerning Waste Management having been duly adopted is ordered that notices be given as required by law. Item number 22 is adoption bylaw 1618 to establish rates and certain conditions for the supply of electricity for the year 2024-2025. La greffière de la ville.
Donc, les copies du règlement ont été remises à tous les membres du Conseil et mises à la disposition du public en temps opportun. L'objet de ce règlement est d'établir les tarifs d'électricité pour les clients d'Hydro-Westmount en date du 1er avril 2024. Le règlement a aussi pour objet d'établir certaines conditions applicables à l'approvisionnement d'électricité pour l'année 2024-2025. Ce règlement abroge le règlement 1597 prévoyant l'établissement de tarifs et certaines conditions applicables à l'approvisionnement d'électricité pour l'année 2023-2024.
Merci. Est-ce que je peux avoir une déclaration de la part de chaque membre du Conseil présent à la fin qu'il ou elle a lu le règlement?
So declare.
Merci beaucoup. Councillor Chamy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that bylaw 1618 entitled a bylaw to establish rates and certain conditions for the supply of electricity for the year 2024 to 2025 be now adopted.
Thank you very much. A seconder is Councillor D'Amico. Any further comments? The rate adoption, all in favor? Carried. I declare that bylaw number 1618 entitled Bylaw to Establish Rates and Certain Conditions for the Supply of Electricity for the year 2024-2025 having been duly adopted, is ordered that notices be given as required by law. Item number 23, l'adoption règlement 1619 visant à établir les conditions de fourniture d'électricité.
Donc, des copies du règlement ont été remises à tous les membres du conseil et mise à la disposition du public en temps opportun. L'objet de ce règlement est de prévoir les conditions de fourniture d'électricité. Ce règlement abroge le règlement 1603 visant à établir les conditions de fourniture d'électricité.
Merci. Est-ce que je peux avoir la déclaration de la part de chaque membre du Conseil présent à la fin qu'il ou elle a lu le règlement?
Also declared.
Thank you. Councillor Shammy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that bylaw number 1619, entitled a bylaw to establish the conditions governing the supply of electricity, be now adopted.
Thank you. A seconder is Councillor Peart. All in favor? Carried. I declare that bylaw 1619 entitled bylaw to establish the conditions governing the supply of electricity having been duly adopted, it's ordered that notices be given as required by law. 24, tabling of the Planning Advisory Committee minutes. Councillor Peart.
Merci, Madame la mairesse. Je propose que le Conseil prenne acte et accepte le dépôt du procès-verbal de l'Assemblée régulière du Comité consultatif d'urbanisme, le CCU, tenu le 5 mars et 7 mars 2024.
Merci beaucoup. Seconded by Councillor Gallery. And no comments on this for
No,
just
this
the
is our
minutes?
typical
All
minutes.
in favor? Carried. Item number 25 is approval of site planning and architectural integration programs. Is again Councillor Peart.
Thank you, Madame la mairesse. I move that the Municipal Council act on the recommendations of the Planning Advisory Committee, the PAC, as set out in the minutes of the regular meeting held on March 5th and March 7th of 2024, and approve, with respect to each of them, the plans and permit conditions attached to the items listed below as assessed in accordance with Bylaw 1305 on site planning and architectural integration programs.
Thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor Gallery. Are there any files that you want to highlight as significant, or it's this time of year?
It's this time of year, but
Windows and doors.
I will single out a file that a project that I've not seen since my years on council, where a large extension that was done to a house in decades ago is actually being downsized to a smaller extension that is much more fitting with the house to which it is attached.
Interesting. Okay. All in favor? Carried. Item number 26, approval of site planning and architectural integration programs, 120 Irvine Avenue. Councillor Peart.
Merci, Madame la mairesse. Let me just get there. No, I don't need the whereas with this. Excuse me. I move that the Municipal Council act on the recommendations of the Planning Advisory Committee, the PAC, as set out in the minutes of the special meeting pertaining to the minor exemption applications held on November 14th of 2023, and approve with respect to each of them the conditions of site planning and architectural integration programs for the issuance of permits as listed in item CCUDM 23-11-14.05 of the agenda of said committee.
Thank you very much. A seconder on this will be Councillor Gallery. Do you want to give any further comments on this?
This is just one of those weird quirks where our bylaws don't really align with reality, and this resident was stuck with a inconsistency with their front step and the imprint into the front setback, and you need to get into your house, so this had to be done.
Thank you very much. And we now have a method of dealing with that, so this is the method that we use. All in favor? Carried. Final item 27.1, which is added on new business, termination of an employee number 05630. Councillor Bostock.
I move that the City of Westmount dismiss for cause employee number 05630, retroactive to March 28, 2024, the date on which he was suspended without pay for investigation purposes.
Sorry, thank you very much. A seconder will be Councillor Shammy on this motion. All in favor? Carried. That brings this part of the agenda to an end, where we will move now to I believe we have 18 questions online that had been submitted. These people had submitted them for the first question period. All right, you can, but what I'm asking council, because this has been a longer meeting because of all the questions, do you need a break for a few minutes? Because we could be here for another hour and a bit. You want, Yeah, do you want a 2-minute break? Can we adjourn the meeting just for 2 minutes? A health break? Does anyone else need to adjourn the meeting? Yeah, okay. So we're just going to take a few minutes. Okay, welcome back. Thank you, sir. Apologies for the break there. We have several questions that had been submitted through our online platform through the regular channels before 4 p.m., adhering to all the rules to submit your question. So we do need to get to those questions as well. I do understand that people have displaced themselves to come in person as well, which is a great effort to participate. So I will allow the questions in the room, but only if you have not already asked a question, and then we are going to move to online questions. And I would reiterate the rules in that you have to ask a question and to state your name, and then we will move on from there. Okay, thank you.
Brian Shamandi, Oakland. We got the letter, the response to our deposition written by Julie Mandeville. We don't know who she is.
She's the Director General of our city.
Okay. In the second paragraph, it says that the order needs to be formalized for the city's compliance, which I read compliance with overall laws that surround that bylaw, meaning probably the province of Quebec. Is that correct?
We are updating our bylaws that we are designating all of these sites as dog exercise areas, and that is in compliance,
That's what the formalized means?
Yeah, I will leave that to La Greffière to indicate the wording of that.
Because it seems like you want to get around the Quebec.
No, absolutely not. We're taking,
Okay, how does-
and I think we made that very clear in the letter.
How does Article 20 not be clear enough to designate, to indicate what exactly a dog run is? I'm reading it over and over again, and it says clearly what it is. And then you have the Municipal Powers Act, which I'm sure you're familiar with.
Yeah.
The third point is you cannot adopt a provision or a bylaw that goes against a Quebec law.
But it's not going against the Quebec law, which I think we made very clear.
No, you didn't. That's why I'm asking the question.
So-
I want to know exactly why, where you see the opening to do what we're doing here.
To designate
By
a
the way, I
dog
wanna be
exercise area?
Clear for the media too. We're not asking for a ban on dogs. I hope that's clear.
You're
Just
asking for dogs to be on leash at Summit Woods.
That's it. No big ask. It's not a big ask.
It's a,
Come on. Do they pay your $5?
no, sorry, you can have this, you have to ask a question to the council,
Okay,
and
the
then we.
dogs aren't paying the taxes, number one. We are. So go ahead.
Yeah, and I
Make it clear to me how Article 20 is, or you're satisfying Article 20.
of the Quebec law.
Yes.
The Quebec law does not, you're trying to say that it needs a fence or it needs, it doesn't. The Quebec law does not state that. So I will leave it to the lawyers to.
Fenced-in area, or any green space, public garden, bike path, median, blah, blah, have to have dogs under restraint.
Madame la Greffière, do you want to address Article 20?
Can you explain where you're reading this part, fenced area? I don't see that in the.
There's no fenced area reference in the Quebec law.
You have it there? I don't have my computer. I have
No.
an extract.
Yes, I do.
Okay, read it.
There's no such word, fenced
Here,
area.
I'll let Miriam.
The word fence is not in the provincial law.
In public place, a dog must at all times be under control of a person capable of controlling it, except in dog run facilities.
Except. It's an exemption.
Okay.
Okay.
I think we've answered.
No, I still don't see. I mean, unless we have to discuss.
In dog run facility.
Pardon me?
Except in dog run facility. And we are defining where we have dog run.
Where we're allowing dogs to be off leash in the city.
Okay, so what's the next step on your project? Do you consult us? Do we get any, you haven't even offered us options. Listening to us, we're not being prioritized over the dogs. The dogs are being prioritized over us. So do you discuss, do you have options that you want to say, hey, guys, we understand maybe if we do this or that?
Yes, so I will answer this, and then we'll have to move on to the next questions. We have heard you in terms of security around the summit, about enforcement, and we have absolutely increased that enforcement. We take that enforcement from other areas of the city, and we are placing that at Summit Woods. So we are prioritizing Summit Woods with public security, which would be allotted to different places in the city. Right now, that focus is going to be on Summit Woods. We are going to also increase the fines to deter anyone who doesn't have a dog license, which could be increased numbers. We are going to drastically increase that fine.
What about dog licensing for dogs that aren't residents of Westmount?
So we are also looking at increasing the fine or increasing the fee by quite a bit for outside.
How much? What is it? It's $50 now for a resident?
We have discussed tripling that fee.
Minimum.
So that's fine. We have discussed tripling that fee, and that would go into our tariff bylaw. But we have also discussed, there is some discussion and some desire from council to have, if we cap that number in terms of the number of dogs that are non-Westmount residents that have licenses. So that, we are trying to find a balance, and we have heard you. We have heard you. We heard your threat to sue last time. We heard that.
I appreciate you saying that, because we don't hear it enough, that when we do make this effort to do all this stuff,
yeah,
because we feel warm by it.
So
I love dogs. It's not a question.
Yeah.
The question is the freedom of running, and where we have kids and babies that we're walking, it's a little tough. But anyways, that's the old story.
I appreciate that you live next to it. It brings, it's probably a complete joy to live next to the summit. And then it also brings traffic and other issues, and those need to be managed. And the first communication I had from the leader of this group was mise en demeure, was a demand letter with a threat to sue. So that's how that communication began.
Okay, but that doesn't change the...
And so this is the
Fine,
response.
We're here now.
Yeah.
The points are well made.
So
It's
this
well
is the response. But listen, none of this is taken lightly. We know that this is an important issue, and this is incredibly close to people's hearts, and it's a part of their daily lives, and it's part of your lives and how it's impacted. So what we're telling you is that we are going to make a much greater effort with our public security team up there, and to manage it. And there are some realities when you live close to certain
Will
things.
you update us as Quebec responds to your checking out to formalize everything?
Quebec's not
Nico says?
checking. Like we will update you by having a vote on the bylaw.
Yeah, but you could vote anyway. We do have nothing to say.
But it is for us to make this decision, and we are in complete compliance with the province. But thank you for coming. Councillor D'Amico?
So I had a suggestion, which was, I thought was a recommendation to solve the issue of, I wanted clarity on this issue. I think clarity is best for both sides. I hear both sides. I've talked to people on both sides. I think by referring this to the provincial government, we will get clarity. It is my recommendation. It is not a council recommendation. I'm merely recommending this as a solution to solve this problem, clarity. I'm recommending it to council, I'm recommending it to the administration, I'm recommending it to the clerk. Furthermore, I have looked extensively into this issue. I've also contacted other cities, I've contacted other legal counsels of other cities. In my opinion, there are only 3 options here. I agree with you. A dog run, if you take the regular definition, includes a fenced-in or enclosure, or requires an enclosure. In my opinion, there are only 3 possibilities. 1, Summit Woods is open to everybody, but the dogs have to be on leash. Number 2, you can do like they did at Angel Woods in Beaconsfield. You can cordon off a section and create a dog run like Angel Woods in Beaconsfield. Or you can fence off the entire Summit Woods and you can do like a Morgan Arboretum. I see those 3 options. Those are my personal views. They are not binding on anybody. They are my personal views after I've extensively researched this topic, in conjunction with legal opinions obtained verbally, not in writing, from other legal counsel at the municipal level. Thank you.
Because at least you have options. The number 2 option, totally doable.
So,
but these are public.
Is that you have to ask a question at the mic, and he's responded to your question, and now we're going to move on to the next one. I think, Councillor D'Amico, unless you have anything further you want to add?
No, these are.
Thank you.
I like to always give alternatives. I see these are my personal alternatives after I've extensively researched this topic.
As has the rest of council and the administration and our outside legal counsel. So, Mr. Fretz, next question.
Yes, Madam Mayor and Council, John Fretz, Lansdowne Avenue. I'm here because you said that and it's a great idea, Public Works will be there a couple of days before the 16th to help people if they are in need for information to get permits and stuff like that.
Public security.
Yeah. I referred to an article quite a while ago in The Independent which said that a number of people were coming to Westmount from a dog run that had closed called Maddie or Mally at the corner of Queen Mary and Côte d'Ivoire. Were coming to the summit, And so my question is about the cap, which you mentioned just a few moments ago. Like, are we allowing anybody to just like get a permit to bring a dog
So-
to use the facilities?
Thank you for your question. I too read that article, and I was quite surprised that that article didn't also include that the Mali Dog Run is being replaced. So
Yes.
while they're doing the viaduct,
Yeah.
they have to remove, it's being done close to the dog run, so they have to close that dog run. Outremont isn't just saying like, we're closing the dog run. They're
No, no.
replacing the dog run. So
Yeah.
it's that there was a very, very significant piece of information that was missing from that article, was that there is a replacement dog run in Outremont being opened for that dog run.
Good, okay, that's.
But that didn't
Yeah, but
play
my
as well
real
as the
question is,
fear of.
are we putting a cap on the number of?
So we currently do not have a cap on licenses for dog permits outside of Westmount, but we are looking at that as a possibility because we believe that's also probably a lot of the dogs that are walking there that don't have a license are outside of Westmount.
Yeah, okay, great.
Okay?
Now, I do have a second question. I don't know if you'll, not related to dogs. I don't know if you'll allow it.
I welcome it.
Okay. This is totally different. This is, I think it was item 16. Now, so we're borrowing approximately $7 million to do work in Upper Westmount. What's the time frame for paying back this loan? And the reason I'm asking is that $7 million, I mean, is it 5% these days? Who knows? That's like $350,000 a year, which you're actually adding on to the cost of the project. I mean, we don't want to create a fallacious situation where we think that this project is really only going to cost us $7 million, when in fact it could cost, because of paying back debt, $8, $9, $10 million. So what's the proposal for paying back the $7 million?
So it's a very good question. And as you know, we have a very ambitious capital works program this year that cannot be entirely met with the pay-as-you-go method, which we have previously always met, but we are in a situation where we have to do more work. I mean, it's very apparent from the streets, the parks, the sidewalks, and so that was a decision that was made by council that we would move forward with on significant projects. It's not for, every year, every taxpayer has an absolute responsibility to update infrastructure, to invest in the city. And we're catching up on some of that, and that's why we're borrowing for this. It is our big road that we're getting done. I don't have the entire time frame in front of me. I don't know if anyone else wants to weigh in on that, or the
I mean, the
DG.
repayment time frame is what I'm.
Yeah, I would have to get back to you with the details on that.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Fretz. Final question from the room, and then we'll move online, I think.
Okay. Nothing related to dogs, thankfully. My name is Jessica Winton. I wanted to ask about the Mountainside Church on Lansdowne and the Boulevard. We had mentioned it earlier how it was only zoned for single-family zoning, but you also brought up the point of not slacking on other infrastructure projects such as education. I remember when I would walk from elementary school up Roslyn, there were maybe 3 or 4 buses for all the kids at the school every day. And now there's about 11. I also know the parking lot originally took up very little space, but now it comprises almost half of the yard. I was wondering if it's possible to rezone the church to allow a school to be built there, even though it may not be ideal.
That's a bit of a complicated question. Do you want to tackle the...
I'm not touching that.
I hear what you're saying. I mean, Roslyn is full. I mean, we've seen at Saint Leon recently, they had to put an extension at Saint Leon, which we supported very much as a council, that required a zoning change. And that was a very significant investment from the Quebec government with the extension of Saint Leon. I don't want to misspeak on any zoning issues. So I think the point that you're raising is that it's an underutilized site.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think as well, because there is a backside where there's a yard, and someone had brought up the possibility of a community garden. If there were a school there, a community garden can also integrate to educate the children. that
Yep.
attend.
It was also a spot, it had a preschool in it for a long time. Miss Vicky's had a site there, and then there were other preschools in there in the back of the church, which was well suited because it also had a drop-off area. Do you want to add anything else to that?
I mean, we have discussed, I mean, again, without having any specific program in mind, because we don't own the building, right? We try to anticipate, it's zoned for, within the single-family housing zone. It's zoned as a church.
Right.
It can have auxiliary services within it.
It can have auxiliary services within it, but we also recognize that it's at quite a prominent site in the city, and we also recognize that it would be great if it could have some kind of an institutional vocation, whether or not it's a school, whether or not it's a community center. It might have a commercial vocation. We don't know, but it's not. We can respond to proposals. We can't necessarily make the proposals ahead of time without knowing what the demand is, and especially like
and we don't own
at the municipal level, we don't decide determine where a school goes or not. I know Councilor D'Amico was very interested in the idea of recapturing some of that space, maybe for city use, or for I mean, if you need something as simple as needing a quart of milk. If you are on the boulevard, you don't have any options except to come all the way down to Sherbrooke Street there. But again, because it's only zoned as is, any change to a zoning, any zoning change opens it up to public comment, and then you hear from the people who are very concerned with maintaining the status quo, and it makes it very challenging to implement a alternate use.
Okay. I mean, you haven't explored the idea of like a PPU or anything?
PPU, that's not really the
exact use case.
The objective of a use case of a PPU. It could be a pépissé-moi or a scopy in English, which is really for a specific one site, one project. But I won't speak for the owner, but I won't speak for the owner.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
And we don't own the building.
We don't own the building.
Okay.
Was there anything else? I can leave it.
Okay.
Meeting's been long enough.
Thank you. So I think we'll move online. We have,
After that, can I?
after the 18 questions, I'm not sure we'll have any time left. I think we actually have exceeded our time limit for question period, but we will move to the online questions, and we'll try and group if they are on the same subject. I won't repeat an answer. Okay, on y va.
It's less than 18.
It's less than, and then do we have any that have been submitted throughout the evening? Just one?
One.
Okay.
Okay. So first question from Rachel Weiss, 4655 Bonavista.
And if we have questions outside of the city, those should, so that's outside of the city of Westmount. Do we take questions from non-residents?
It's a public meeting.
It's a public meeting. Okay, on va continuer.
As a daily walker through the Summit Woods, I feel obliged to ask the mayor and the council to correct why they have accepted the summit's original purpose as a botanical garden. I believe it is important to disabuse this notion, which is presented by local residents, to show how dogs have trampled on pristine, protected, and Westmount articles discuss. As the Westmount archives show, and a number of academic and historical articles relate, the donation of what we now call the Summit Woods by Sir William MacDonald to build an observatory. In fact, construction was begun at 4 sites where foundations were constructed for 4 planned observatories. It was also used by the 24th Victoria Rifles of Canada for field exercises. Over the years, the Summit Woods has been used by various departments at McGill University and for telecommunications. In fact, in 1948, the National Research Council had an experimental radio tower and service building in Summit Park. I ask that the council recognize the multiple industrial and military uses of the Summit Woods Park previously.
Okay, thank you for your commentary. It is noted, and we will take that under advisement.
Next question from Monica McCauley, resident of District 1. I am writing this letter to City Council to indicate that as a resident of Westmount, I am wholly in support of maintaining the status quo at the Summit Woods dog off-leash area. I am unable to participate in any way at the meeting as I will be out of the country. Westmount is for me an extraordinary place to live, in no little part because it offers incredible services to its residents that make living here very special. One of those valued services is the Summit off-leash area. As a taxpayer, I believe there must be a balance between various user groups, and I believe the current regulations are a fair compromise between the residents who use the Summit Woods and the ecosystem, specifically the nesting birds. When I bought a home in Westmount, I purchased one near many schools. This location has benefited me greatly, but the compromise is that there is a period of time every morning and every after school when I cannot easily exit my driveway. This was completely foreseeable to me when I bought my house, and I determined that the benefits outweighed the hassle. Likewise, during some school events, I also occasionally have inconsiderate or unaware people parking and blocking my driveway. The remedy for this is to speak to the owner of the badly parked car or call Westmount Security not to stop people driving their children to school. Similarly, those residents who live in close proximity to the Summit Woods cannot have had a reasonable expectation that either the woods or the surrounding roads would be for their personal use. These amenities are for the use of all Westmounters, and at the very least, as all taxpayers in Westmount contribute to roads and parks, etc. And I would expect that we would all have a reasonable expectation that roads and parks, etc., in the city are not only used by taxpayers of that city, but also by visitors and neighbors. I very much hope that the City Council takes very seriously the fact that the parks in Westmount are for the use of Westmounters, of all Westmounters, at bare minimum, and that various uses can coexist and are legitimate.
Thank you for your feedback, interesting commentary of understanding the surroundings when she bought her house with the school. But thank you for the commentary and the question.
So next question from Ms. Sheila Smith, 100 Hillside. How is it possible that my backyard has become a rail switching station without any consultation or notification? Residents should not be expected to live with locomotives parked and running for hours less than 15 meters from their windows. The situation is untenable. Please help.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith, for your email. And I don't know if you were watching earlier on with the commentary from Councillor CLERK'S about our efforts to try and remedy this situation, but we do understand that it is difficult. We were given late notice, like you and like the residents, and we don't feel that that is fair, and that we must be able to find a better solution than what's currently going on. So we were working with EXO and CP and the federal government to try and find that solution.
A question from Mr. Jonathan Kromsky, 15 Forden. Some members of council have previously expressed that a rebalancing of this usage of Summit Woods by different user groups should be considered. Surely there must exist qualitative objective data to support planning for such an important part of our urban landscape. What is the baseline usage, daily, weekly, monthly, of Summit Woods for the years 2019 to 2024 by the varied user groups? Follow-up question, if such data is not currently available, will council commit to gathering objective user data rather than being guided by the subjective opinion of some residents?
Thank you very much for your question. Unfortunately, we don't have user data in our parks. We don't track the numbers that come and go. What we have been able to track is the dog licenses, and we know how many, when we give infractions, we're able to track that, but we don't have data of the number of people that have come and gone throughout a park, but we can look at perhaps some creative ways as to trying to see how many users. There's certain areas that we can track that, like in the library, we know that we have over 1,000 people that go through that door every day. Approximately, like on average, it's about 1,000 people a day that it's open. But we don't have that number for our parks, largely because there's many entrance points in our big parks and things like that. But it is definitely something to reflect on.
So a question from Jeremy Van Ramsdonk from 634 Avenue Victoria. My kids have developed a fear of dogs and refuse to go to the Summit Woods because of repeated bad experiences with dogs, including dogs growling at them, dogs barking at them, and dogs chasing them. We only go during the dogs on leash hours, but invariably there are several dogs off leash. How can we make the Summit Woods more welcoming to families? Suggestions: all dogs must be on leash at all times, only allow dogs within a fenced area on the woods, adopt a registration and screening process to ensure that dogs are safe and well behaved, limit number of dogs in the woods at any given time, limit access to the woods to Westmount dog owners, ban professional dog walkers from the woods, set a limit of 1 dog per person.
Thank you very much for your question. And you have a lot of different suggestions in there, but I can understand I have a son who also is fearful of a dog that's not our own. He's very connected to our dog, but he doesn't love other dogs. So we walk up there in times when dogs are meant to be on leash, and as well on the walking path that's surrounding Summit Woods. And I think that's what we were trying to explain before, is that we're trying to find the balance of different times and allowing it for usage for many things. But I thank you for all of your suggestions, especially in terms of enforcement is very, very important, which is what we are very much committing to increase.
Next question from Mr. Frederick Gervin, 434 Victoria. Mayor Smith, I submitted the same question for the past 3 council meetings without an answer to my specific question. So let's try again. First is a quote from a letter dated January 22nd, 2024, included with the Westmount tax bill. Quote, unfair contribution to the budget of the Montreal urban agglomeration, unquote. I asked for the dollar amount Westmount residents have been overtaxed on 3 occasions. Tonight, for the 4th time, can you reveal what the amount is?
So, Mr. Gervin, what I think I was hoping to make clear, but maybe I didn't make clear, is that yes, you are quoting from a letter, I believe the tax letter of $67.4 million that is sent to the agglomeration. I can't give you a number for what you believe we have been overtaxed, because this is the tax bill that we have to pay, and it includes several services such as fire, police, water, public transit. So there is no sort of fixed number that I can tell you that we have been overpaid, but what we are continually trying to do is to find a fairer agreement, especially when it comes around water and things like that. So I can't give you a number because the number doesn't really exist.
Next question from Harriet Staples, 3838 Hampton. I have visited Summit Woods for over 30 years with my family, my dogs, and as an avid bird enthusiast. The documents on your website and official signs at Summit Woods define this area as 3 specific entities: nature reserve, bird sanctuary, urban forest. Application of these terms should form the framework for the vision, mission, and principles that govern the use of this ecologically fragile space. Question: please state the City of Westmount's meaning of each of these designations in the context of the current use of this space and how you intend to effectively apply the principles associated with each designation to regulate the use Summit Woods for the mutual benefit of people, dogs, birds, and its trees and flora.
Thank you very much for your question, and I think it's a theme that we've touched on several times tonight, where we are trying to find the balance and where we are making investments. It is an urban forest that needs to be protected. That we need to ensure that the canopy is protected. That we don't allow invasive species to take over, things like that, and to find a balance of users in there. And that means there's going to be periods where dogs have to be on leash. There's periods where in the wintertime where it's a longer stretch where dogs are off leash. And we are coming up on a protection time starting April 15th. So starting next, which I guess is next, I think it's next Monday, where dogs will have to be on leash at any time up there. So we are trying to find the balance that you refer to in your question. Are working towards it.
Next question is from a non-resident. As a non-Westmount resident and a daily visitor of the Summit Woods with my dog, I am concerned by fear mongering about non-Westmount residents invading the summit in hordes and destroying it. There is no evidence that non-Westmounters, 1, don't care about the summit, 2, are more likely to disrespect regulations. Prohibiting access to non-Westmount residents and their dogs to such a public space legally meant to be a park could in fact be discriminatory. Despite this, we've heard arguments by a few people pushing for an end to dog permits for non-Westmount residents. Is the council intending on making changes barking dog license that will prevent on or otherwise actively discourage non-Westmounters from coming to the summit with their dogs?
Thank you for your question, and I had addressed this earlier as well, where we are not closing off. We believe everybody should have access to parks and green spaces. But in terms of a permit, a dog permit, we are going to get much stricter about enforcement for it. And that is for residents and non-residents. So if you are a non-resident without a Westmount dog permit, you will get a significant fine. And that will be a non-negotiable fine. And we are looking at increasing the dog permit for non-residents because we do feel it's quite low. Next question.
A question from Bruce Lennox, I believe a non-resident, 3838 Hampton. The 2 key elements of getting compliance with Summit's rules and regulations are 1, clear signing distributed throughout, and 2, some explanations as to the rationales for these rules and regulations. Summit Woods is a wonderful place to enjoy the meeting of people, nature, and dogs, but clearly rules, guidelines are needed and effectively communicated to people to have all 3 coexist in harmony. Question: has a unit in Westmount operations been tasked with a comprehensive wayfinding mandate and information distribution mandate? I ask because the signing is intermittent. Located at non-obvious places like non-entrances, reads like legal statements and not information, and is written in font 5 in places.
Thank you for your question. And it is it is a very valid point that you raise in terms of the signage that's in there, that we can definitely improve that, and that's something our communications team is working on, to have much clearer signs, and we have put the concrete base down for some of those signs so that they won't get as damaged, and as well, much clearer signs at the entrances of what is expected and what you need to be able to be in Summit Woods if you have a dog that's off leash in the permitted times that you're allowed to do that.
Madam Mayor,
Yes?
things would be a lot more simpler if the provincial law was applied. It would make everything simpler, it would be more inclusive, and it would be safer, and be more sustainable, and more in tune with saving the biodiversity of the summit. It's really,
So-
for me, a no-brainer. The provincial law should be applied. You solve all your problems, including clarity, signage, and all that. So I really don't know why we're having this debate. But anyway,
Because it is the responsibility of the municipality to do it, and that is our role. So, it would be easier to blame things or to ask someone else to do the job that we've been elected to do, but that is the job that we are doing here.
Donc,
Next question, if there are any more questions.
Two more questions. Question de Linda Tremblay, qui réside à Westmount-sur-Argyle. Bonjour, j'ai écouté la dernière séance du conseil municipal et j'ai vu le débat sur la présence des chiens au Summit Circle. Voici deux propositions. Mettre en place un système de vignettes de stationnement pour toutes les rues au nord de Boulevard. Les vignettes seraient réservées aux résidents de Westmount. Cela réduirait beaucoup les problèmes de stationnement près de Summit Circle et limiterait le nombre de visiteurs externes. 2. Installer une clôture temporaire entre le parc Summit et le chemin Ridgewood. De plus en plus de personnes empruntent ce chemin non officiel, ce qui détruit la végétation et nuit à nos efforts de régénération de la flore. Il est urgent que la Ville agisse pour protéger le parc. Merci.
Merci, c'est moins d'une question, plus des commentaires, mais merci pour les commentaires.
Question de M. Samuel Dubé, 650 Belmont. Bonjour, pourriez-vous ajouter du personnel au service des permis de la Ville? Je comprends qu'il y a beaucoup de demandes de permis à ce moment-ci. Il est très difficile d'obtenir du service par courriel ou par téléphone. Personne ne répond. Ce n'est pas la faute de vos employés qui sont débordés. Cela serait d'autant plus important d'offrir un véritable service d'accompagnement car la réglementation de la Ville de Westmount est très complexe. Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup pour le commentaire. J'imagine qu'on a un contact pour ce monsieur sur Belmont.
Oui. Donc,
OK, donc quelqu'un
oui.
va être en contact avec vous pour régler ce problème avec les permis. Et pourquoi personne n'a... Je ne sais pas pourquoi vous n'avez pas eu une réponse. Mais merci pour la question. We have gone way over time in terms of the allotted time for... Oui, on a un autre en ligne.
Yeah. Donc, une question de Andrew Grove, 617 Belmont. Kudos to Mayor Smith for running a precise meeting tonight, and further kudos to Councillor Roux for her position against the waste management bylaw, which I agree with her requires more consult. It only makes me regret more that this is not on YouTube as much as last season. I had no questions in mind before the meeting as I do not use Summit Woods consistently, either with or without a dog. But I have walked the land and now on the gravel pathway from Oakland to Summit Circle. Mayor Smith made perhaps an offhand remark earlier tonight in her opening remarks about the pathway from Oakland to Summit Circle is not off-leash area. While I understand how an improved signage plan might be helpful for humans with a wooded area on both sides of the gravel path, how do you explain to the dogs that they aren't supposed to cross the path that general walkers use? A follow-up with 1,200 users signing a petition pro-summit usage. Is this not a sign that we are past what is reasonable for this land to manage? Things have changed, which 2019 I would submit.
Okay, so thank you for your, thank you, Mr. Groves, for your feedback and your commentary. And I think that was one of in terms of the walking path up there, I'm not sure if I made an offhand comment, I didn't mean to, but the walking path up there, and I think that was the point that we were trying to address as well, is that the dog is meant to be in control. You are supposed to be close to your dog. And so if you were in the summit on those paths, you wouldn't be right next to the walking path is a bit away. But then this also comes back to enforcement, right? This comes back to making sure that we have dedicated public security that's up there to ensure. That is a complaint that we've had in the past, that somebody might be on that path with their dog off leash. We also get a lot of complaints of people biking on that path, which you're also not meant to bike on that path. And so that could be an opportunity for signage, not just at the entrances of that path, but also maybe in the middle as well. Thank you, Mr. Groves, and for your commentary on garbage. Are there any other questions submitted online? Is there anyone in the room that hasn't asked a question that would like to go?
Yes, please, I have a question.
Your name again, for the record?
Mariam Kamali Nejad. Ma question concerne l'avis de motion que vous avez présenté ce soir. Bien évidemment, ma question c'est ça. Évidemment, cet avis de motion, il va changer la nomination actuelle de Summit Bois pour désigner comme un parc canin et exercice de canin. Parce que vous ne pouvez pas dire non, parce que c'est marqué ici.
On précise.
Et vous précisez, et dans l'annexe, il est nommé comme dans le tableau, il est nommé. Donc, directement, le parc Summit-Bois, il va changer son utilisation au parc à Canaan. Et comme ça, vous voulez vous mettre en règlement avec la loi provinciale. Parce que dans la loi provinciale, il dit « excepté in a dog run facilities ». So you want to change the name of the park, and after that you will see that you will say that you are in regulation by law. But now that we talk together, you are not. La réglementation ne respecte pas la loi. Donc vous avez trouvé le chemin de passage pour changer l'usage du parc et le nommer comme le parc à chiens pour pouvoir utiliser les chiens sans leash. Notre problème, ce n'est pas ni le prix, ni le parking, ni... C'est sûr qu'il y a tout ça un peu, mais notre major et principal problème, c'est la sécurité publique. Vous êtes en train de jouer avec la sécurité publique. Est-ce que s'il y a une catastrophe, s'il y a un enfant ou il y a un jogger qui est mordu par un chien, c'est vous la responsable? C'est la ville de Westmount qui accepte la responsabilité? Qui va être imputable? Ma question, c'est ça. Le jour de l'événement, qui est imputable? Vous avez un avocat, vous avez un greffier, vous avez un directeur général. C'est qui est imputable que le jour que l'accident arrive, si le jour que mon driveway était bloqué, j'allais chez le médecin, si j'avais besoin d'ambulance et que l'ambulance ne pouvait pas entrer chez moi, qui était responsable? Je veux juste savoir pour la prochaine fois, pour l'accident qui va arriver la prochaine fois, qui va être imputable?
Very clear that we're updating this bylaw and that we are in complete adherence with the provincial government. You can disagree with me as much as you want on that. We can't, am I creating a world where there's absolutely no risk and everything? No, there isn't. As you know, dangerous dogs, we have 6 of them in the city that are listed that...
C'est la raison pour laquelle je suis là. C'est pour laquelle je suis là parce que j'ai vécu. Et là,
and we have a system of dealing, as you are very well aware, of dealing with dangerous dogs.
Vous attendez un accident alors?
No,
maintenant, on vous prévient que c'est la sécurité publique. Donc, il ne faut pas jouer avec la sécurité publique. Donc,
I think we've addressed this issue enough for this evening.
Deuxième chose que je voulais dire, c'est par rapport à tous les résidents qui habitent proche et dans la zone.
Oui.
Vous ne pouvez pas changer le nom de parc au parc à chiens sans consultation de tous ces résidents. Et il faut un avis public pour changer la nomination de parc.
We are giving...
désigné comme espace
On donne
de
un-
chiens sans consulter les citoyens qui habitent parce qu'ils vont être impactés.
Okay, thank you for your commentary. You've given, as you know, this, you are a city councillor in the city of TMR, so you know how this works. We have given notice of motion today.
Je sais que comment on bypass les résidents et on bypass leurs problèmes. Maintenant, on est en train de vous expliquer
Okay.
les problèmes de sécurité publique, mais
Puis
on
on
les
a,
bypass.
on a entendu. Merci. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.